Hello, my dear viewers. This amazing story will be very instructive for you. It is very interesting and beautiful. I wish you enjoy watching it.
The investigator's workday was over, but Edwin stayed late in his office, leafing through old cases and making notes in his notebook. He was not yet 30 years old, but for his seriousness and thoughtfulness, for his thorough approach to his work, the young man had been called strictly by his first name almost from the very first days of his service. As long as Edwin could remember, he had always dreamed of going to work for the police. A keen sense of justice in some cases interfered with life, but also helped in life. For example, Edwin's friends were as honest and decent as he was. "Tell me who your friend is." Everyone changed for the better around him, although some uncompromisingness made Edwin not very easy to communicate. In addition, the sudden disappearance of his mother, when the boy was barely 12 years old, had an impact on the choice of his future profession. Edwin got up from the table, stretched, and did some physical exercises, toning his stiff muscles. Yes, he'd been a little late today, but he wasn't in a hurry to get home just yet. "I should call my father. It's been a long time since we talked," Edwin thought. And anyway, what should he do there in the village alone? The man dialed a familiar number and smiled when he heard Jared's panting voice. His father would never get used to being able to call back if he didn't have time to pick up the phone. So, wherever he was when he heard the phone ringing, he ran headlong into the house, shouting from afar, "I'll run, now!" As if at the other end of the wire could hear and wait. "Hello, father. What are you doing?" Edwin imagined his father smiling. "It's good to hear from you. What else is there to do in this neck of the woods?" "I watched the news and went and fed the chickens. The porch has to be done tomorrow. The boards are almost rotted, and the village council chairman needs a visit. The other day at the store, the women said they were giving pensioners some kind of financial aid. Maybe I'll get some." "You should give up your village, father. Sell the house and move to the city. Why stay alone? We'll buy an apartment here and live together. My salary is decent. It's enough for us. And you're old. If something happens, it's a problem to call an ambulance in your backwoods. It'd take a couple hours." "What am I supposed to do in your town, Edwin?" Jared said in a guilty voice. "You can walk out of the gate and you'll see a lot of people around you. You can have a word with your neighbor or play a game of dominoes with the men. You've had your day and you know all the news. What am I supposed to do in the city? Sit by the TV and wait for you? I die of homesickness. I'll miss the open spaces, the nature." As every time this dialogue ended with nothing, they did not come to any decision. Edwin warmly said goodbye and hung up the phone. Daddy, how he misses his father. He even missed his village, his rural life. Yes, it's been a long time since he visited his father. He should go to his father's home sometime this weekend. Edwin sat down at his desk again and opened another file. He was in his third year as an investigator. He spent all his free time studying missing persons cases, carefully reading and rereading the information obtained in the course of search activities. He wrote out the most important and useful things in his notebook. One of the main reasons that pushed Edwin to choose law enforcement was the disappearance of his mother. He hoped that by becoming an investigator, he would be able to find at least some traces, at least some information about his mother. Ideally, even find her, if she was still alive. His fingers involuntarily reached for the birthmark on his wrist. It was always like that when Edwin thought of Karen, his mother. He vividly remembered how his mother had stroked his heart-shaped birthmark and pointed to her own, which was exactly the same as her son's, and said, "You see, Edwin, on my hand is the imprint of your heart, and on yours is mine. You and I are God-marked." Edwin, looking through accident reports and descriptions of crime victims in the years after Karen went missing, searched with some fear for special markings, dreading to read about the birthmark on her wrist. But thank God, no such information had yet been encountered, so he did not lose hope that one day he would find his mother. There was a demanding knock on the office door. "Come in, Leslie," Edwin answered loudly. He recognized from the knock Leslie, the chief's secretary. A young, very attractive girl entered. "You're up late again, Edwin? Shall I make some coffee?" "Thank you, Leslie. It would be wonderful to have coffee now." Edwin smiled when he saw how happy the girl was to be able to talk to him. She confidently brewed the coffee, took out some scones from the bag she had brought, and invited him in. "Help yourself, Edwin. I baked them myself." They sat down on the sofa and Edwin sipped the aromatic coffee with pleasure. "Why don't you go home?" asked the young man. "Your fiancés must be waiting for you." "No way," Leslie waved her hand. "Are they fiancés? Young, green, no prospects. Only entertainment on their minds." Edwin laughed. "You're talking like an experienced 40-year-old woman. You're still so young yourself. You need to have fun too. And the fact that your fans are still young is not a disadvantage, but rather a virtue, which, unfortunately, passes with the years. And as for prospects, every general was once a private. If a young man like that were to marry you, he'd rise quickly through the ranks." "Come on, Edwin." Leslie turned away resentfully. "Why do you keep asking me to marry you? Maybe I have other plans." The girl looked at the investigator with a silly smile. "And yourself, Edwin? When do you think to marry? Always alone, day and night at work. You'll remain a pauper. You're eating dry. Here and there, sandwiches and coffee. You should find a spouse to look after you, take care of you, feed you like a human being. You sometimes wear the same shirt for days at a time. It's not right. If you had a wife, you'd always sleep at home. Whenever I go home, you're all in your office, looking for something, flipping through old files." "That's my job, Leslie," Edwin sighed. "Irregular hours." "It's the police have irregular hours," the girl disagreed, "and the investigator is his own boss. In case of emergency, you'll be called from home, and you even sleep in your office sometimes." "What can I do, Leslie? It's my choice." Edwin had long ago noticed the undisguised interest of the boss's secretary in his person. Leslie immediately paid attention to him, even when he, a young graduate of law school, got a job in the investigative committee. At first as an intern, but soon the management, noticing a talented intern who helped solve several cases, transferred him to the position of investigator, and since then has repeatedly noted and encouraged the guy. Once early in his career, he accidentally overheard his secretary talking on the phone. "Brianna, I have such great news," excitedly said Leslie, invisible interlocutor. "We have a new investigator, young, handsome, not married. He doesn't seem to have a girlfriend. He's so important. My chief said about him, young and early, he'll go far. And you know very well, my boss is never wrong." After listening to the unknown Brianna, Leslie replied, slightly lowering her voice, "I'll think of something. I'm an interesting girl in every sense. A little persistence and straight to the registry office. You won't believe how old he is, but everyone treats him with respect, by his first name and middle name. I don't think anyone would ever think of calling him Edwin, just Edwin." Then Edwin only smiled. It was nice to hear such an opinion about himself from a pretty young secretary, whom almost all police youth run after. But Edwin did not take the inadvertently overheard confession seriously. And in vain. Since then, a long siege had begun. Leslie tried with all her might to please. Edwin did not want to offend the girl. He liked her, but no more. He had no special feelings for Leslie. He'd seen her and lost his head. It never happened, but the siege had been going on for 3 years, and the girl was not going to give up her plans. She persistently and systematically continued her flirtations. "Can you take me home, Edwin?" He heard Leslie's voice. "It's getting late. The buses don't run very often. I'm afraid to take a cab alone, and I live in the middle of nowhere." Edwin realized that Leslie was asking him to come over, but he didn't let on. "Sorry, Leslie, I've got a lot of work to do. I won't be going home for a while. I might have to spend the night. Why don't you ask one of the guys? They'll drive you home in a squad car, with lights and music." "All right," Leslie pressed her lips together resentfully. "I'll get home on my own. I'm not a little girl. Goodbye, Edwin." The girl went out unhappily, and the young investigator plunged back into the study of old, unsolved cases. It was well past midnight when Edwin closed the last folder for today and rubbed his eyes tiredly. Again, all wasted. Again, not a single thread, not a single clue, not a single hint as to where to find his mother. Edwin closed his eyes, and in his memory again vividly, as if it was only yesterday, resurfaced that day. He had just turned 12 years old. The school year was over and the long-awaited summer vacation had arrived. In the summer in the village Grace, half the day the boys and girls spent on the river, swimming and floundering in the water. They jumped from the bungee, dived from the shore, had fun. And then, a little frozen, we made a fire on the shore and baked the potatoes we had brought with us, right in the ashes, and ate them, burning and smearing soot on their faces. It was inexpressibly fun. Then they sat on the shore, talking lazily and sharing local village gossip. Edwin remembered how that day Diana, the daughter of the village's first gossiper, Mama Whitney, squinted slyly and said, "Oh, what do I know? I heard my mother talking to the neighbors yesterday." "And what did she say? Tell me. Don't keep me waiting," the boys asked. "Edwin, don't be offended," said Diana. "It's about your mother." "Just tell me what she said," the boy said. "Mama said that your mother, Aunt Karen, was completely fooled by the visiting foreman. She said she'd forgotten about her family and that she'd lost her conscience." "That's not true." Edwin jumped up. "Your mom's lying. Everyone knows she's a gossip and spreads it around the village. My mom's not like that." "Well, I'm selling her for what I bought her for." Diana took offense. The grandmother said the same thing. Edwin rushed home, smearing tears of resentment on his face. When he ran into the yard, he saw his father leaning against the door jamb. "What's wrong, Edwin?" his father asked worriedly, seeing the state of his son. "Father, why did they say all sorts of nasty things about my mother in the village?" Edwin asked with his eyes flashing. "Ah, that's what you mean," sighed his father. "Don't believe anyone, son. It's a village without gossip. And don't think badly of your mother. She only loves you and me." "Is it true?" The boy smiled hopefully and his tears dried up as if on cue. "Of course it's true, Edwin," Gerard hugged him. "Our mother will always be with us. You don't listen to anyone. Never." Then the gate creaked and Karen entered the yard, a woman who worked as a milkmaid and had come back from her evening milking. Seeing her husband and son, the woman asked anxiously, "Gerard, Edwin, what is it that you are as out of sorts as you are?" Edwin rushed to his mother and buried his face on her breasts, breathing in the familiar smell of hay and milk. "Whitney's been telling the truth again." Edwin believed it, Gerard explained, hiding his eyes. Karen squatted down and looked her son carefully in the eyes. "Edwin, son, why are you so upset? Whitney is such a woman, she can't sleep unless she does something nasty to someone. Let's go inside, I'll pour some fresh milk." Edwin, who had calmed down at once, went into the house with his parents and they drank milk and buns that his mother had baked the day before. During the night, Edwin heard his parents' tense voices through his sleep, discussing something behind the wall. And early in the morning, his mother left for her morning milking. Edwin never saw her again. All the next evening, Edwin waited in vain for his mother. Gerard paced restlessly from corner to corner, always looking at his watch. His mother was still gone. Finally, unable to bear the strain, Edwin suggested, "Father, let me run to the farm in case something happened." "Run, my son, run," exhaustedly fell back in his chair. His hands were trembling. Edwin ran out of the house and ran to the farm, which was on the outskirts of the village. He raced at full speed, and anxiety and worry grew in his chest. There were no more milkmaids on the farm. Only the farm watchman, Justin, was raking the hay between the cow pens. "Justin, have you seen my mother?" the boy asked, panting and stammering with excitement. "So she left with all the women, as soon as all the cows were milked," said the old man. "Why are you upset? Maybe you missed each other. Although it's been a couple hours already." Justin scratched the back of his head thoughtfully. Edwin ran home out of fear, on his way asking his neighbors if anyone had seen his mother. But they all shrugged their shoulders in surprise. When the tired boy came home, he realized at once that his mother wasn't home. Gerard was pulling on his jacket, obviously going somewhere. "Dad, where are you going?" "I'm coming with you." "Son, I'll go look for her myself. You stay at home. In case Karen comes home and there's no one home, we'll be looking for each other all night long." And the father, without waiting for his son's reply, went out the gate. Gerard returned only in the morning, tired and upset. "Well, father?" Edwin rushed to him. "Did you learn anything?" "No, son," shook his head. "I searched everywhere, even the nearest woods. There's no Karen anywhere. I found her handkerchief in the clearing." Gerard pulled his mother's colorful handkerchief out of his pocket. She wore it to work. "What shall we do, Father?" Edwin asked in shock. "We must go to the police to the city. We'll go to the policeman in the morning, and then we'll see what he says." During the night, father and son hardly slept a wink. Only occasionally a doze came on and Edwin fell into a short, restless sleep. It was dawn and Jared and Edwin went to the opposite end of the village, straight to the house of the local policeman. Alex, an elderly man who had worked as a policeman all his life, the local Aniskin, as the villagers affectionately called him, comparing him to the hero of the movie of the same name, was already awake. "Gavrlik, Edwin, why did you come running in so early? What happened?" "My mom is missing, Alex," said Edwin, barely holding himself back from crying. Gavrlik, tell me what happened." "I don't know, Alex," Jared said sadly. "After the evening milking, she didn't come back from the farm. I went to look for her. She was nowhere to be found. I only found the handkerchief outside the village. It was an accident. It was lying in the bushes." "Come on, let's go to the station," ordered the man. The station he called his room in the village council. "We'll decide what to do." They went hurriedly to the village hall. Everything inside Edwin was clenched with a bad feeling of foreboding, of longing, and a sense of something irreparable. At the station, Alex made him tell everything in detail, gave him a sheet of paper and told him to write a statement. And he himself called the police in the city and briefly recounted what had happened. As expected, they promised to start investigative measures only in 3 days. Although they asked Alex to start on the spot already now. After all, a village is not a city. Everything's out in the open, and a person can't disappear without a trace. The measures were carried out for several days. All the milkmaids who worked with Karen were interviewed. They showed that the woman left work with everyone else, but then told everyone that she forgot something and went in the opposite direction. According to the caretaker Justin, the woman never returned to the farm, and she was never seen again. All the time the investigation was going on, Edwin and Jared lived like a volcano, waiting every moment for an eruption. His father was gone, had not shaved for almost a month, and looked like an abrek. Edwin tried to calm his father, though even at his age he realized that nothing could be fixed. Even in the most hopeless case, there is still hope. One evening Gerard called his son. "Edwin, son, come here." A bad feeling filled Edwin. "Did you find out something?" "Father, is she alive?" "Edwin, you and I will always wait for our mom, and we'll never give up hope. You hear that, son? She's not in any hospitals or morgues, and if she is, that means Karen's alive. Believe it, son." "Why are you talking so weird, Dad?" "They just don't investigate anymore. They've done what they need to do and put it away. That's it, Edwin. Many years have passed since then. The village speculated all sorts of things about Karen's disappearance. There was even some mythical maniac, supposedly living in the local woods and attacking young women. Gradually, however, things quieted down. One news story, no matter how loud it was, is replaced by another, and the old one is forgotten. After all, life does not stand still. Edwin lived with his father. Jared never married again and raised his son alone. And Edwin for himself since that time decided that as soon as he finished school, will go to law school and will definitely become an investigator. And then he would look for his mother himself. After school, Edwin immediately went to the city and entered the institute without any problems. It was not difficult, given his persistence and purposefulness. He graduated from the institute as a brilliant lawyer with a red diploma. And his dream came true. He is an investigator in the city investigative committee. And now for 3 years, every free minute to search for his mother. Requested cases of lost, as they were called in police circles, compared, read from cover to cover, trying to find something in common with the case of the mother. And most importantly, he checked the descriptions and identities of the unidentified corpses to make sure, once again, that mother was not among them. Well, it's time to do the honors. I've got to catch a couple hours of sleep. And in the morning again work, incidents and crimes, serious and not so serious. But nevertheless, the head should be rested. Edwin was still considering whether he should go to his rented apartment or stay the night in his office when suddenly the landline phone rang. "It's me." He picked up the receiver. "Edwin, this is the duty officer of the department. Could you please come down?" "We have an unusual incident here." "I'm coming," the man said, and hurried out the door. It was fortunate that the investigation committee was located in the police headquarters. In case of an emergency, there was no need to rush from one end of the city to the other. Going down to the first floor, Edwin saw an interesting picture. At the window of the duty officer stood two uncertain-looking women, obviously of no fixed abode. In the hands of one of them was a large bag, from which something was squeaking and swarming. "What's going on?" Edwin came to the window. "These people claim to have found a baby in a garbage dump." "What?" The man couldn't believe his ears. "Call an ambulance immediately." He ordered and took the bag from the woman's hands. The two homeless women moved to the wall and sat down on the bench, and Edwin unzipped the bag and really saw the infant. The baby was in a diaper, but by the look of it was completely unharmed. It was not even crying, but was looking at him with huge clear eyes and babbling in a language only he could understand. "My God, what a baby!" exhaled the investigator. "What happened to you, baby? What heartless mother abandoned you in such a cruel way?" At that moment, an ambulance arrived and the doctor immediately examined the infant. At first glance, there were no injuries to the baby, but the baby was taken to the hospital for further examination. Now we can start questioning the women who brought the find to the police station. Except that the women, taking advantage of the commotion, disappeared somewhere. "Where are the homeless women?" Edwin asked the officer on duty. The young lieutenant on duty almost swore, "I got distracted and they're gone." "Congratulations, Lieutenant," Edwin grumbled. "Not only do we have to look for a deadbeat mom, but we've lost our witnesses. Did you even take any statements, or at least question them?" "What did they say?" "Well, they said they went around our neighborhood, checking the garbage cans for food or anything useful." "Looking for food?" Edwin mocked. "Speak normal language." "Sorry, Edwin." The lieutenant blushed. "We were looking for food or clothes, and we came across this bag. Thought we found something useful, but there was a baby in it. They freaked out. They don't have a cell phone. They brought it here." "Did you get any data?" "What kind of data do they have? They're homeless." "Lieutenant," Edwin got mad. "I'm gonna reprimand you for inconsistency." "What do you mean, homeless? Do you have any information? Do you remember if they addressed each other by name or nickname? Did you notice any distinguishing marks? Think, Lieutenant. Get your good name back." The young officer on duty blushed with tension. He closed his eyes, trying to remember every minute. Edwin didn't push him. He knew not to interfere. Let him remember. At last the lieutenant spoke excitedly. "I remembered, Edwin. Honestly, I remembered. Speak quickly, or write it down at once, before you forget it again." One of them, who held the bag, addressed her friend Veronica. The other called her Irene. And the Veronica one has a birthmark on her wrist. It looks like a small heart. Edwin suddenly felt the ground go away from under his feet. His head rumbled, and he asked again with dry lips. "What did you say?" "A birthmark on his wrist. In the shape of a heart, like this." He nervously unbuttoned his shirt sleeve and showed his birthmark. The stunned lieutenant nodded confusedly. "Yes, almost like that." "What is the meaning of all this, Edwin? Do you know this woman? Is she a relative of yours?" "That's my mother, Lieutenant." Edwin, in the greatest excitement, ran out of the police headquarters and scurried through the surrounding streets, trying to find those women. But it was all in vain. They had vanished into thin air. Edwin returned to the station after several hours of pointless searching. Utterly shattered and depressed, he silently, trying not to look at the duty officer, went up to his office and collapsed exhaustedly on the sofa. "What an idiot I am," thought Edwin, cursing himself with the last words, and also scolding the lieutenant. "I acted like a rookie. He made nice with the kid and didn't take care of the witnesses. Is that homeless woman really my mom? There's no such thing as coincidence. Then why Veronica and not Karen? Just questions. Only now I know exactly who to look for. I don't have to run around the streets like an idiot. I'm gonna send the precincts out to look for these women, make sketches, and see if anyone recognizes them. It's a big city, of course, but there's no such thing as one of the question of the informants will not say anything. After all, it is necessary to go through the shelters for the homeless, the places where the homeless live. There's a whole system of investigative actions, and I, like all so smart and educated, and gave in to emotion and rushed haphazardly wandered around the city. What a fool! It was like a dream come true. There was no sleep left in either eye. Edwin got up, went to the bathroom, and rinsed his face in the sink. He looked at himself in the mirror and said, "The matter has moved on. Congratulations, Edwin. The ice is broken, gentlemen of the jury." When Leslie looked into the investigator's office in the morning, she was surprised at how much the man had changed overnight. He was alert, cheerful, and determined. "Edwin, you look so happy. What happened? I heard they found the baby in the trash last night." "Yes, Leslie, they did. The hospital called. The baby's fine. He's perfectly healthy." "Why are you so happy? I don't understand." "Oh, Leslie," smiled Edwin, "it's a boy. And he's alive. He will live. Do you want to come with me to the hospital, check on the family? We'll pick up the bag and diaper he was found in." "Sure, I'll do it now," readily agreed Leslie. "I'll just ask the chief to leave." Half an hour later, the young people were on their way to the hospital. While Leslie went to the baby, Edwin took the necessary things from the chief physician and entered the room where the boy was temporarily placed. As he entered, he stopped in amazement. Leslie was standing at the window, gently holding the baby in her arms and saying affectionately, "How tiny you are, how sweet. Don't be afraid, baby. Don't be afraid of anything. You are now in safe hands and nothing terrible will happen to you anymore." An episode with a foundling from the legendary movie The Place of Meeting Cannot Be Changed came to mind. He even for a moment imagined himself Sharapov, who returned from a combat mission. How good Leslie was with a baby in her arms. And why had he never noticed before that Leslie was so beautiful, and how easy it was to imagine her as a mother? It was as if he were seeing her for the first time. Edwin shook his head, driving away the unexpected thoughts, and approached the girl. "Well, have you met her?" Leslie turned her radiant face to him and spoke trustingly. "Edwin, how beautiful he is. Where to put him now? I don't know. Probably an orphanage. And then someone will adopt him." Suddenly, Leslie held the boy to her and turned away. I don't want to leave him. "Edwin, what's happening to me? It's like I found my child." "Calm down, Leslie." Edwin was embarrassed. "It'll pass. You and I will visit him. You're still very young. You'll have lots of children of your own." "What a fool you are, Edwin, and also an investigator." Leslie flared up. "How will it pass? If I have already felt with all my heart love for this baby, what's that got to do with my babies? And anyway, I'm 25 years old. I'm ready for motherhood. I feel it on the inside. And I want this baby." All right. Give me the boy and let's go to work. They're not gonna give you the baby anyway. At least not right away. You're not married, and they're gonna choose a complete family. There's a lot of delays. Leslie and Edwin returned to the investigating committee. All the way they were silent, immersed in their own thoughts. At the office, Edwin suggested, "Why don't we have some coffee?" "No, thank you, Edwin." Unexpectedly coldly refused Leslie. "I'm waiting for the chief. I have to work." Edwin shrugged his shoulders, entered the office, and began his work. First of all, he called all the district officers, informed them that he had sent out the sightings and information about the two homeless women, and told them to start searching immediately. Then Edwin decided that he had no right to hide such important information from his father and dialed his number. "Father, hello," he said into the phone when he heard his native voice. "I really need you to drop everything and immediately come to me in the city. If you get ready right now, you'll catch the bus. I'll meet you at the station." "Edwin, is something the matter?" Jared asked anxiously. "Are you not ill?" "It's all right, Father," Edwin said soothingly, "but I need you here. I'll explain everything when you get here. Hurry up, Dad." After that, Edwin finished the main business and asked his boss for a couple of days off, explaining it was a personal problem, so to speak, for family reasons. A couple hours later, he was already at the train station to meet his father. Jared was in his own repertoire. As was always the case when an older man went into town to see his son, he was laden with bags and bags of stuff. They arrived at Edwin's rented apartment, and Jared began to pull out of his many bags salted lard, jars of pickled mushrooms, sauerkraut, pickles, and tomatoes. And, of course, a few dozen fresh eggs from his chickens. "Well, Father, Where did you bring so much? Edwin laughed. Do you think I'm starving here? I know how you eat here, grumbled his father. You eat all kinds of chemicals. You drink coffee all the time. I brought my own liquor, homemade, and my own products, clean and fresh from the village. All vitamins. Come on, sit down. I'll set the table. Gerard with jokes and jokes sliced delicious, with veins, lard. He poured small pickled opiates on a plate, seasoned them with oil, vinegar, and onion rings. He put out sauerkraut that smelled of spicy horseradish and boiled potatoes, also seasoning them with the aromatic oil from their village creamery. Edwin, though he was not hungry, looked at these appetizing dishes and wanted to eat. Well, that's right, he thought, we'll talk over the meal. What's the matter with you? At last my father asked, pouring thick, fragrant liquor into glasses. Edwin drank the liquor and looked straight into Gerard's eyes. I think I found my mother. His father choked on his liquor and coughed. Edwin tapped him on the back. Hush, father, you don't worry so much. Nothing is clear yet. Father sternly ordered, Tony, you see, father, a very strange thing happened tonight. And Edwin told his father everything in detail, without omitting the slightest detail. Gerard was silent for a long time. Finally, he looked up at his son. I knew this would happen someday. I don't understand, Dad. Edwin stammered. What does that mean? You knew Mom was alive. For how long? Maybe you always knew where Mom was and you just didn't tell me. How could you, Father? No, Edwin, it's not like that. Father smiled sadly. I didn't know at first either. I was worried too. I was afraid Karen was in trouble. But a year later, a letter came. You can read it for yourself if you want. I always carry it in my wallet. My father took his wallet out of his pocket and took out a greasy piece of paper. It was evident that the man had often reread it. Edwin excitedly took the piece of paper and saw the lines written in his mother's childish handwriting. Dear Gerard, I am writing to you only now because I was afraid to confess my sin before. But my feelings were stronger than I was. I couldn't fight it. I cursed myself with the last words. I roared like a beluga at night. I miss Edwin. I miss you. I miss my former calm and happy life. But my conscience won't let me go back. I chose love. So abruptly and unexpectedly covered me with a head and left my closest to me son and husband. But God has already punished me. My chosen one turned out to be a cruel and rude man. And my heart feels that this will not end well. I don't know how long I have to live. I don't think much. But just know one thing. For the rest of my life, I'm gonna regret what I did. And every minute, every breath I take, I'll remember that I was once a happy mother and wife. Don't let it go to your head, Karen. The lines sprawled before Edwin's eyes, traitorously filled with tears. He dropped the letter and covered his face with his palms. How could it be, Father? Why didn't you tell me? All this time I was only afraid of one thing, that my mother was dead. In every line of the letter there is such pain, such shame and such anguish that I should have looked for her long ago to save her. But where to look, my son? My father grinned bitterly. There was no return address, not even a postmark. Maybe she passed it on with someone, and you've been through so much since Karen disappeared. I didn't dare to worry you again. You were just starting to calm down. I'm sorry, son. Edwin shook himself and looked at his father again. All right, Father. This matter is closed. Now all we have to do is search and wait. Now, at least I'm pretty sure it was Mom. Her birthmark. But for some reason, her friend called her Vera. The next day, Edwin went to work, even though he'd only used one day off. But sitting at home in the dark was unbearable. Here at least he was in the thick of things, could distract himself. Strangely enough, Leslie hadn't looked in on him once today. It wasn't like the girl. Suddenly, Edwin realized that he missed Leslie, that he missed her care, her flirtations. He decided to go to the reception area to see the supervisor and find out how the girl was doing. To Edwin's surprise, Leslie was not there. He knocked on the accounting desk and asked the girls, Girls, I don't see Leslie. Is she okay? Well, you're up late, Edwin. The girls jumped. Leslie took a vacation. She's getting married. She's getting ready for the wedding. What wedding? Edwin marveled. What wedding? What are you talking about? Just like that, marriage. Did you think she would chase after you and suffer for the rest of her life? every girl dreams of marriage. Edwin suddenly felt hurt. How could this be? Only 24 hours ago, he was sure that he seriously liked Leslie. She was showing such obvious signs of attention. He had not doubted for a moment that the girl was determined to win him over. Everything was transparent and absolutely predictable. And now she suddenly decided to marry. To whom on earth? Edwin strode into the study and felt deceived. For so many years, Leslie, a loyal admirer, was always there, making coffee, bringing him pastries, treating him, caring for him. And suddenly it's all gone. And the girl really was a great cook. So why did she suddenly change? Maybe he'd done something to offend her. But Edwin, having analyzed his behavior with Leslie, had not found anything that could offend or insult her. All right, that's enough. Edwin decided, we'll talk about this later. Enough of this nonsense. There's a lot of important things to be done. And the most important of them all was to find Mom. The investigators started calling around to see what the results of the search for the homeless women were. So far, no results. Then he started examining the bag containing the abandoned baby. It was just a bag. Large utility bag. Obviously old, used for years, worn down in places. Looking carefully inside, Edwin's gaze suddenly caught on a piece of paper. He carefully removed the small piece and took out a magnifying glass to make out what was written on it. There it was. It was a scrap of a check, a regular supermarket check. The man carefully put the scrap of the check in a plastic bag and ran to the lab to give it to the experts. They would be able to squeeze everything they could out of the scrap. The diaper didn't tell us anything. It's just an ordinary baby diaper, like millions of them. No identifying inscriptions or markings. Suddenly, the phone rings. I'm listening. Edwin, I think I have something for you. He heard the satisfied voice of an elderly policeman Adam from the outskirts of the city. Speak up, Adam. Don't be long. Edwin got excited. What do you have? Yesterday, I was in an abandoned barracks, where our local homeless people cluster. Showed me the sketches of these two women. Yeah, recognized them. Some time ago, 2 years or so, they'd been hanging around the barracks. One, Irene, had been homeless for a while. The other one, they say she's new. What do you know about her, the other one? Edwin hurried on. Nothing. I mean, not at all. They say she lost her memory, couldn't even remember her own name. The same Irene found her in a vacant lot, unconscious, beaten up, frosty outside, snowdrifts all around. She dragged the poor thing to the heating duct and got out. She called her Veronica herself. But here's the thing, the precinct commander's a little confused. Just talk, Adam. Why do I have to pull every word out of you? You see, Edwin, when they got settled in this abandoned barracks, an old bum took a fancy to the new girl. He started harassing her, claiming her as his own. Irene took her rescue friend and ran away from the place. They never came back. So where are they now? Edwin was upset. We're looking, Edwin, we're looking. I've already got the local gang involved. We'll find them. Don't worry. It's only a matter of time. Edwin thanked the policeman, said goodbye, and hung up the phone. Poor Mom. What had she been through? He involuntarily stroked the heart on his wrist. His heart began to ache. Edwin went to the window and looked out at the city drowned in gloom. Here and there were the lights of apartments and street lamps. The city seemed peaceful and calm, but somewhere out there, outside the window, walked his mother, who had lost her memory, perhaps hungry and cold. He suddenly felt a great desire to share his worries with someone. If only Leslie were around, sweet and kind, Edwin would tell her everything. And she would have understood, sympathized, tried to comfort. Suddenly, there was a tentative knock at the door. Come in. Edwin broke away from his musings. Leslie hesitantly entered the office. Hello, Edwin, said the girl quietly. Leslie, rejoiced Edwin. You disappeared so suddenly. They say you are to be congratulated. Are you getting married? And who is the lucky man? Edwin realized he was saying the wrong thing. What an idiot. He mentally scolded himself. I don't know what to ask. I'm going out, Edwin, nodded the girl sadly. I've come to say goodbye. I'm going on maternity leave after the wedding, if it works out. How fast you're going, Edwin joked inappropriately again. What's the matter with me? He was upset again. Leslie, sit down. Let's talk. He invited the girl to the coffee table. Leslie obediently sat down. Do you want me to make some coffee? But I don't have any pastries as good as yours. How about a cookie? No, thanks. Leslie said no. What's new with you guys? Did you find any witnesses? Did you find out anything about my baby? What do you mean, my baby? Edwin was surprised. That's what it means, Edwin. The girl raised her chin. He's mine. I'm collecting documents for his adoption. And now the child's family will be complete. It was like a puzzle was forming in Edwin's mind. Is that why you decided to get married? What did you guys think? That I'd devote my whole life to you. I want a family, and I love that boy at first sight. I have an admirer who would do anything for me, so I'll marry him and we'll adopt the baby. Edwin sat down beside Leslie and took the girl's hands in his palms. Leslie, he began softly. So much has happened in the last couple of days that my head is spinning. And in that time, I've realized two things. One, my mother is alive and I'm gonna find her. And the second thing is that I'm just a blind, indifferent chump. I almost lost the best girl in the world. Leslie raised her tear-stained eyes to Edwin. Is it true, Edwin? Enough with the first name. Smiled Edwin. I'm opening your heart, confessing my love. And you all, Edwin. Edwin, as if tasting the name, slowly answered Leslie. And the baby? Suddenly, the girl was alarmed. What about the child? If I don't marry, they won't give it to me. Her eyes filled with tears again. Let's not be in a hurry, Leslie, hugged the girl Edwin. Do not worry, we will solve problems as they come. You know what I'm like. It means a lot to me to take such a big step. All right? All right. And now I'm inviting you to the village dinner. My father's come and brought me so many delicious things that now, as an honest man, I'm obliged to treat you. I'm not the only one who has to treat myself at your expense, the man joked. They left the police building and walked slowly toward the house in which Edwin lived. Along the way, he told Leslie as much as he could about his childhood, how his mom had disappeared, how they had lived all those years with his dad, and why he decided to become an investigator. And I've been looking for my mom all these years. I've been systematically organizing my information, all to no avail. And then suddenly, as they say, without a declaration of war, she appeared in the department. And on my watch, as divine providence pushed, the girl nodded understandingly. And you missed one thing. Really, said Edwin, surprised. What did I miss? The fact that you almost found your mother only because of the baby that those women found and brought to the police. That's right, laughed Edwin. I owed that to the baby. When they entered the apartment, Edwin's father was already meeting them at the door, glancing anxiously at his watch. Oh, son, are we having company? Jared smiled. Yes, father. Meet Leslie. Leslie introduced Edwin. And this is my father, Jared. Come in, Leslie, Jared fussed. I'll set the table. Nature's bounty, so to speak. My father ran into the kitchen and hurriedly began to set out the treats, saying, What a joy! How long I had hoped Edwin would start a family. What a thing to see, such a positive, educated man with a solid job. But he's still a bum. It's high time for me to take care of my grandchildren. Come on, father, embarrassed son interrupted. You've already married me. So it's high time. You can't move on your own, so you need a push. The three of them were sitting in the small kitchen of Edwin's rented apartment, eating appetizing country gifts of nature, as Jared called them, with the old man's sweet specialty liqueur. And everyone was so warm and relaxed, cozy and kindred. Finally, father couldn't take it anymore. Edwin, have you heard from Karen? Edwin pushed his plate away and told his father everything he had learned. That's the way it is, father. I have a feeling Mom will be found soon. So many people are already looking for her. He took a sketch out of his pocket and handed it to his father. Here, see what she looks like now. Jared gently took the sheet with the police artist's sketch and stared at it. Karen has gotten older. I'm not getting any younger either. My poor girl. What a lot she's been through. It's all right. Just find her as soon as you can, son. I'll make sure she gets well and remembers everything. Remember us. Suddenly, Leslie held out her hand. Come on, give me the sketch. She looked carefully at the sheet and thoughtfully said, I think I've seen this woman somewhere before. What? Edwin couldn't believe his ears. Where? When? Wait, Edwin, Let me remember, furrowed her brow Leslie, somewhere recently. I think it was in the neighborhood where I live. That's right, at the market. Leslie slapped her hand on her forehead. I've seen it. We have a makeshift market near our house. They sell country produce and stuff. A lot of homeless people hang out there. At the end of the day, the vendors give them what they haven't sold, perishables. That's where I saw this woman a few times. With a girlfriend, by the way. Your mom's the quiet one, but her friend is a fighter. She's a fighter. Edwin was pacing the kitchen in excitement. It's all one and the same. Leslie, you are a miracle. I suggest we spend the night at my place tonight. Tomorrow we'll go to your market and search till we win. Dad, will you come with us? I will, son. I can no longer sit in four walls and wait for news from you. I want to act myself. Barely waiting for the morning, Edwin called his boss and again agreed on time off. However, he had to listen to lectures on the subject. Young people are like that. They don't know what they want. They need time off, and then they do not need it. It's time to become more serious, Mr. Investigator. The three of them had a quick breakfast and went to the market near Leslie's house. The market was just filling up with vendors. Rare passersby were glancing around the stalls in search of what they had come here for in the early morning. Gradually, the rows of stalls filled with vendors and customers, but Edwin searched in vain for a familiar face in the crowd. Finally, he turned to his father and Leslie. Shall we come back tonight, toward the close of the market? Leslie agreed, but Jared was adamantly opposed. No way. If Karen's here and this is the only place she knows where she can be found, I'm not going to take a step out of here. Whatever you want, I'm staying. I can manage on my own, son. You go on, mind your own business. I'll sit here on the bench and wait. I'm not used to waiting a long time. God willing, if I see Karen, I'll bring her back to your apartment, and then we'll figure it out. And that was that. Father remained at his post, and Edwin and Leslie went to the hospital to visit the family. But at the hospital, they were shocked. Your baby has been taken to an orphanage. The baby is perfectly healthy. What would he do in a hospital? Distressed to the point of tears, Leslie leaned against the front door of the hospital and closed her eyes. Don't worry, Leslie, Edwin reassured her. We will find our boy. Now I'll find out where exactly he was sent and we'll follow him right away. When they arrived at the orphanage, they saw a bleak picture. In the nursery, small children, with a small difference in age, were playing. When they saw the man and woman enter, the eyes of the little ones were filled with such hope that they felt uncomfortable. They quickly passed by, trying not to keep their eyes on anyone, so as not to get anyone's hopes up. In the infant room, Leslie found her family at once and ran up to him. My little one, don't cry, Mommy is near, she gently spoke, holding him to her breast. Edwin was once again amazed at Leslie's transformation. Here she is no longer a fragile girl, but a real mother able to protect her child from all adversity. And at once everything became clear and understandable. Edwin realized what he would do next. Everything looked so simple that he felt that what he was about to say to Leslie was the most necessary and the most right thing that should happen. Leslie, he said softly, we must apply for a registry office immediately. We'll get married and we'll take the baby for ourselves. Adopt him. Would you agree? The girl's look of joy and gratitude answered for her. Edwin hugged Leslie with the baby and said, we'll do everything by the book with you later, okay? And a romantic marriage proposal, and a beautiful wedding with a white dress and veil. The most important thing right now is that we don't lose our baby, okay? But I'll ask your parents for your hand in marriage by all means. I am an orphan, Edwin smiled. Leslie, I will bless myself. They went to the office of the director of the orphanage and agreed that the child will not be given to anyone for adoption. Still, being an investigator for the investigative committee has its advantages. Full of hopes and plans for the future, the young people decided to stop by Edwin's house, have a snack and go to the market, where the father kept his post. But just as they entered the apartment, they were surprised to hear cheerful voices coming from the kitchen. In the utmost excitement, Edwin ran into the kitchen and stopped in amazement. Sitting at the table were Gerard, a strange woman, and his mother, so dear, so close, and yet a bit of a stranger at the same time, Mom. There was an awkward silence at the table, and the first to break it was his mom. She stood up, came to Edwin, looked at him in silence for a long time, then laid her head on his chest and cried, "Edwin, my son, how long it has been since I have seen you." Edwin, embarrassed, embraced his mother and quietly said, "Come on, Ma, don't cry. Everything is past. You are with us now. We're together, and you're in no danger anymore." Karen took her son's hand and stroked the birthmark affectionately. "Looking at my heart on my wrist, I always thought of you, Edwin." Gerard wiped away her tears with the palm of his hand and said cheerfully, "That's it, Karen. All the bad stuff is over. Meet Edwin, Leslie. This is Irene, our mom's guardian angel. Hello to the fair company," smiled Irene. They moved the treats into the living room, as the small kitchen was no longer big enough for everyone. At the table, Gerard turned to Irene. "Tell me, Irene, how you found Karen, how you saved her. Tell me about yourself." "What's there to tell?" Irene grinned wryly. "No family. I sold my house and moved in with my husband. We lived together for 5 years. Then he brought a young mistress into the house and they threw me out on the street. No money, no papers. That's how I got homeless. It wasn't easy. Cold, hunger. It's good that my arms and legs are intact. I'd work a little for food. I'll go through the garbage, find some clothes. What can I say? I had to beg for alms, especially hard in winter. Our brother settles on a heating main in the cold." Gerard moved over to his wife and put his arm around her shoulders. She took off her top coat. Irene continued, wrapped the poor thing up as best she could, and dragged her through the snow. "I'm not strong enough. And Veronica, excuse me, Karen was unconscious. I dragged her. With her fellow homeless, we put her in the warmth, boiled water, wiped off the blood, gave her some brewed herbs, and some vodka, of course. We have only one cure for the cold. Little by little, your mother began to revive. In a few days, she came to her senses, but she couldn't remember anything, not even her name. So I gave her the name Veronica, so she wouldn't lose hope." Irene was sad. "You see, Veronica, your luck has changed. You found your own. And I, with my name, will probably only find love," the woman joked wryly. "Gerard, Edwin," the mother looked pleadingly at her husband and son. "We're not leaving Irene, are we?" "Yes, she's done so much for me. And she saved me once in the barracks, from a rapist." "Of course we won't, Karen," said the father. "Irene, will you come with us to the village? It's a big house. There's plenty of room for everyone. And Edwin will help us with the paperwork for his job. Won't you, son?" "Of course, Irene. Thank you for your mom. You're not alone now either." Edwin's a little confused. "I'm sorry, Mom. Maybe you don't like to tell me this. But how did you end up out there in the wasteland in winter?" "It was my own fault," Edwin sighed his mother. "I didn't realize my happiness. A construction crew came to our village to repair the couch. You, Edwin, were only 12 at the time. And their foreman began to court me, complimenting me, declaring his love. He got me all dizzy. I couldn't take it. My sin. I agreed to drop everything and follow him to the ends of the earth. I lost my head. I went back to the farm that day, forgot something. So he was waiting for me at the farm. Make up your mind, he says, it's now or never. He said I'd throw everything at your feet. Run with me. Our love will survive and win. Why should I have such happiness as you, my family? I don't deserve it. I have sinned grievously. You have long since atoned for your sin with your suffering, Mother, Edwin said quietly. Thank you, son. So he put me in the car and drove me into town. Didn't even let me say goodbye to you to tell you. Later, he said. When we got to town, he locked me in the house. He wouldn't let me talk to anybody. Wouldn't let me go anywhere alone. Controlled me in everything. He forbade me to make friends, to be friends with neighbors. And after a while, he started to drink and get his hands dirty. Once he beat me badly. I thought I wouldn't survive. I wrote a farewell letter and tearfully asked my neighbor to give it to you. But I didn't want you to know where I was. I was unbearably ashamed. That's how I lived afterwards. I endured beatings, humiliation, bullying. Once I said goodbye to my life, I couldn't take it anymore. So I threw myself out of the window. That winter, when Irene found me, the last thing I remember was looking up, crying. Then I took a step forward and it was dark. I woke up once from the pain and saw Archie dragging me behind the house to the vacant lot, and I lost consciousness again. I woke up on the heating main and my head was empty, like a blank slate. Bovo, Irene nodded. A blank slate. You can write whatever you want. I had to learn everything. And today we went to the market in case we got lucky and got some food. I looked and my Veronica had stopped like a stumbling block, standing there shaking, tears running down her eyes. And Jared comes running up, and he starts hugging and crying. It's like an Indian movie, and she let out a tear. Everyone laughed, mentally thanking Irene for diffusing the situation. Then the evening of the meeting smoothly turned into an evening of memories. Soon the tipsy older generation began to sing folk tunes, and Leslie whispered to Edwin, "Why don't we leave them and come to my place? I have a small apartment, but it's my own. I got it from my grandmother." Edwin nodded and turned to those sitting at the table. "You stay, and Tanya, and I will go to her place." "Leslie, it was very nice to meet you." Karen approached the girl and hugged her gently. "You are very nice. I hope we will be related soon. My son will be very happy around you. I see you love him." The next day, Edwin and Leslie went to the registry office early in the morning, right by the opening of the registry office, to apply and set the day of the wedding. The employees of the institution entered into the position of the future newlyweds, as the case concerned the adoption of a child, and set the date of the wedding for the very near future. When Edwin and the uncomprehending Leslie entered the room where the injured girl was lying, she jumped up frightened. "You're not going to let Archie go, are you? You will put him in jail?" "Don't worry, it's all gone. You'll never see him again. I just have one question. Would you like your baby back?" "What do you mean, give it back?" The girl was confused. "He's dead." "No, sweetheart," replied Edwin gently. "He was saved. He's alive and well. So what do you think you're going to do with him?" The girl suddenly pressed her lips together and looked hatefully out the window. "I don't want that child. He's that monster's son. I don't want to even touch someone who has my tormentor's blood in him." And the girl turned away and lay down on the bed. "That's all, Leslie," said Edwin, closing the door of the room. "All the formalities have been observed. The child has been abandoned. Knowing who the father is, you still want to adopt him." "Edwin, it's not the baby's fault," nodded Leslie. "Whosever blood is in him, it's as hot and red as any child's. And a baby needs a family, a mommy and a daddy, just like every other baby in the world. It needs love and affection. And how our son will grow up depends only on ourselves. Dry shoots don't give roots, but if you water it, it will bloom. So you and I will bring up our son so that he will grow up a worthy man." "My God, Leslie." Edwin was touched. "How young you are, but already so wise." A year later, Edwin and Leslie came to the village on vacation, and their little son Jared, it would be good to be a little time in nature at his grandparents'. The boy had just begun to walk and say his first words and was so cute and restless, pleasing his parents and making his grandparents beg to bring their grandson. In the evening, when Jared had fallen asleep, the adults gathered in the courtyard in the gazebo, where Karen set the table with Jared's gifts of nature and his specialty pours. Irene, a friend of Karen's, soon approached as well. The woman considered herself Jared's second grandmother and often bickered unkindly with her friends over the right to babysit the boy. Irene, too, had been affected by the change. She met a nice man in the village, a widower, and moved in with him. Soon they want to formalize their relationship. Together they sat in the gazebo, drinking Naluka, eating mushrooms and cabbage, talking leisurely and sharing the news. And everyone in his heart thanked God that life had been merciful to them. They found family, love, peace, and happiness. And what else do you need in this life? Nothing more.
"Why don't you ever let me go anywhere? All my girlfriends talk about what a great club this is, and I have never gone there with them," emotionally said a young girl, Catherine, to her mother. "Well, Mom, please, how long will you keep me locked up?" "Catherine, first of all, don't you dare talk to me like that. And secondly, about this place is too much negative written in the news," calmly replied Mom. "And exams are coming up. You need to study, not go clubbing. I pay too much for your education, and I can't buy you a section 2. "Mom, I'm ready for the exams. I learned everything a long time ago. Please let me go with the girls. I'll be back before 11 o'clock, I promise." "No." And the subject is closed. If you want to hang out with your friends, you can invite them to our sleepover. I'm sleeping over tonight, so you'll have the whole apartment to yourself." "Ah, okay. I'll think about it." "Thanks, Mom." After finishing the conversation, Catherine went to her room. She picked up her phone, wondering if she should invite Lana and Angelina, her best friends. They were not ordinary girls. They were in the same class as Catherine. Their parents were big businessmen, so these girls knew their worth. How they became friends with Ekaterina, a girl from an incomplete family who lives with one mother and special income is not distinguished, is a mystery. After spinning the device in her hands, Catherine decided to write to her friends in the group chat. "Hi girls, I cannot go with you to the club. Mom again turned on the mode of the boss, but I have a counteroffer. Come to my place tonight for a sleepover. Mom's on night shift. We can do whatever we want." Catherine hit the send button and waited impatiently for a reply. Much to her surprise, both girls quickly agreed to her proposal. They agreed to meet at 5 o'clock at the supermarket, buy some goodies, and drive together to Catherine's house. That's what they did, but Angelina and Lana had a slight change in their time together. "Pack up, let's go to the club," Lana told Catherine when they arrived from the store. "But I told you I can't. Mom is categorically against it," frightened Catherine replied. "Oh, Catherine, stop already, Pajinka, pretend. If you are so afraid of your mom, we could pretend that all night we're here." "Lana, I can't do that. If my mom finds out, I'm screwed." "Then you stay here by yourself," Angelina intervened, "and we'll go meet the boys." But we agreed. Tried to object Catherine. "So much bought everything, and now you leave me." In the eyes of the girl treacherously glistened tears. "Okay, sorry," said Angelina, realizing that everything goes not quite as they planned with Lana. "We'll all stay here and miss each other." "Why bored?" objected Catherine. "We can watch movies or have our own party." The girls did not argue anymore and stayed home. When it was almost 8 o'clock and all the goodies were already eaten, Angelina and Lana again tried to persuade Catherine to go to the club. This time the girl couldn't stand it and gave up. She was wildly ashamed in front of her mother, but she also did not want to lose her friends. They agreed that they would return home before midnight and pretend that all the time spent at home. At that moment, Catherine did not even guess how this trip would turn out for her. Already an hour later, the girls were on the threshold of the club. Catherine felt very insecure. She was worried about having to lie to her mother. In general, they had a complicated relationship. When Catherine was 7 years old, her father left the family and went to another woman. At first, he took part in his daughter's life, though not much. He took her on weekends for a walk, took her to the movies and cafes. But when his new family had a child, he began to see Catherine less and less often and eventually stopped appearing at all, and even called on holidays. He, of course, continued to pay alimony, but did it purely mechanically, not wanting to have problems with the law. Mom, seeing how her daughter suffers, in every possible way tried to distract her from thoughts of her father. A year later, when Catherine was 10 years old, her mother transferred her to another school. This move favorably affected the girl's condition. New emotions and acquaintances distracted her from sad thoughts. Mom began to work more, and soon she was promoted to the head of the surgical department. After that, something changed in her character. She became more authoritarian, which affected her daughter. Catherine became afraid of her mother, afraid to say something contrary or do something wrong, as Mom said. Therefore, even now, when Catherine has long ago turned 18 years old, she still obeyed her mother. Maybe just out of habit, or maybe she was really afraid of her. And now, standing on the threshold of the club, Catherine thought that she was doing everything completely wrong. Although on the other hand, it was a completely new sensation for her. Entering the club, the girls immediately spotted a free table and rushed there. After a short persuasion, Lana and Angelina persuaded Catherine to order an alcoholic cocktail, which she had never done before. "Come on, just one drink," Lana said. "Nothing to you from it will not be, just a little relax, and then all tense as a socket." "In Kfert, the degree is even higher," supported the conversation Angelina. Having drunk a cocktail, Catherine really felt a little lightness, and she was drawn to the dance floor. Angelina and Lana had never seen their friend like this, and Catherine herself did not expect such a thing from herself. Having danced enough, the girls returned to the table. "I want another drink," said Catherine. Wait, friend." Angelina laughed. "I thank you for the first time enough." But Catherine felt the taste of freedom, and now she wanted more. In an argument with her friends, she did not notice how a handsome guy came to their table. "Hello, girls. Let me introduce myself. My name is Alex. I come to this club a lot. I've seen you here many times," the guy said and looked at Lana and Angelina. "This is the first time I've seen you here. And let me say that you do not look like a visitor of such places. I was very impressed with your dance. What's your name?" "I am Catherine," answered the girl, blushing, "and I'm really here for the first time. These are my friends Lana and Angelina." Alex asked permission to join them at the table. The girls willingly agreed. The young man turned out to be very cheerful and pleasant in communication. He joked a lot and made a good impression on all three girls. Closer to midnight, Lana and Angelina began to hint to Catherine that it is time to wrap up because she needs to go home. Her mother is unlikely to appreciate her deception. Reluctantly, Catherine agreed to the arguments of friends, and they went home. They got home without adventure. Already lying in bed, Catherine realized that she could not live as before. She was very impressed by today's event, and all her thoughts were occupied only with Alex. But how to bring all this to her mother, she did not know yet. Deciding that time would tell, Catherine fell asleep. In the morning, Catherine woke up because she heard laughter coming from the kitchen. Listening, she realized that her mother had returned from work and was talking about something with Angelina and Lana. She tried to get up, but she felt dizzy. Apparently, it was a result of yesterday's trip to the club. Then Catherine decided to listen to what her mother and her friends were talking about. She strained her hearing, but only fragments of phrases came to her. The gist of the conversation was how they spent last night. The girls, they said, watched movies, discussed classmates, and did other girly things. After lying down some more, Catherine repeated her attempt to get up. This time there was no problem. After quickly changing her clothes and tidying up, she went out to the others. "Good morning, everyone," the girl smiled. "You're early today, Mom. Did you run away from work?" "It was a surprisingly quiet night," Mom replied. "No new patients came in, and the old ones were fine, so I had an unusually quiet shift." At breakfast, they talked a little more about last night. After that, the friend suggested that Catherine go shopping. At first, the girl did not agree, but her mother insisted that she would not hurt to unwind. After all, she already sits at home all the time. In the end, the three of them went to the shopping center. "How are you feeling, Ribble?" asked Angelina, looking at Catherine. "Did you like to break your inhibitions yesterday?" Catherine was a little embarrassed and blushed. "Come on," continued Angelina, seeing the reaction of her friend. "So what if you left home? You are already more than 18 years old." Catherine, "Well, how much can you mom-potai Katerina and everything? You'll never get married. By the way, girls, what do you think of last night's boyfriend?" At the mention of Alex, Catherine's heart beat faster, and in her head surfaced pleasant thoughts. "I don't know," Lana answered. "He seemed too clingy and cloying to me. I like more brutal guys." "And you, Catherine?" "Guy is a guy," answered the girl, not wanting to give away his real feelings. "Nothing unusual." "Well, if he did not appeal to you," with a slight smirk said Angelina, "then I'll hook up with him myself. He left me his number yesterday when you had already left." These words made Catherine's insides tighten. She was jealous and could not do anything about it. "You know, girls," Catherine said, "I have something of a headache after yesterday. I'm going to go for a walk outside, and you go on without me." "Can I walk you home?" Lana asked me sympathetically. No, it's okay. I got it. Have fun. I'll see you at class tomorrow." Catherine went outside. Tears came to her eyes, and it was getting harder and harder to hold them back. She walked quickly towards the house without raising her head. On the way, the girl calmed down a little and entered the apartment in a normal state. "Why are you so early?" Mom was surprised. "I thought you'd be back for dinner." "I don't feel very well. I think I have a fever." "Mom, I'm going to lie down. Do you mind?" "Sure, go ahead. I'll make you some soup and tea with honey." "Thank you, Mom." The rest of the day, Catherine spent lying in bed. Her mother did not bother her, and the girl could calmly think over everything that had happened. She decided that apparently it was not fate and need to stop thinking about this guy. The next day, Catherine met with friends at the institute. "In vain you left yesterday," Lana turned to Catherine. "We covered such cool dresses at the sale. You would definitely like them." "Glad for you." Girl smiled at Katerina in response. "I had a fever yesterday, apparently overworked or cold a little." Oh, and I wrote to Alex yesterday. Angelina intervened in the conversation. We texted half the night, and today we agreed to go on a date. Girls, he's so cool. We are happy for you, laughed Lana. Right, Catherine? Uh-huh, replied the girl, lowering her eyes into her textbook. It still hurt her to realize that the guy she liked so much had chosen her best friend. Meanwhile, Angelina and Lana continued to discuss their upcoming date. Time was running out. It would seem that everything was back to normal, but still something was wrong. Catherine stopped reacting so violently when Angelina talked about the development of their relationship with Alex. She tried to just block her emotions and did not let them go out, but one day everything changed dramatically. The girls met at the institute as usual. Hello, girls. Angelina said hello. Imagine, I found out yesterday about Alex. It turns out that his father is the owner of an oil company. He earns more than my parents in 10 times, and after a while he will pass his business to his only son. I don't think that's a fish to be missed, and to do that, we're gonna have to get crafty. So everything seemed to be going well with you. Lana asked, why do you have to be sneaky about anything? You don't understand. People like him never meet girls for serious intentions, just for fun. They marry whoever their parents choose, and I don't think it's gonna be me. My dad's a big shot, but I don't think Alex's dad would be interested in me as a business partner. What are you going to do? Catherine asked with a sinking heart. Listen to you, so you do not even love him. You are only interested in his money. Do not get excited, friend. Sharply replied Angelina with resentment in her voice. What should I do with this love? In the restaurant on it will not eat, and dresses in the store cannot buy. The main thing is that he is handsome, and in public with him will not be ashamed to appear. And I can live without love. So what have you thought of? Impatiently interrupted Lana. What trick you decided to pull? Lana, everything is banal and old as the world. What makes a man marry a girl? That's right, her pregnancy. I'm gonna tell him I'm pregnant. Is it true? With horror in her voice asked Catherine. No, of course not. What am I, a fool, to have children at 20 years old? I'm still very young. I want to live, not back no Grizovet nurse. And if he doesn't believe me, or doesn't want to get married, what will you do then? Lana asked. Does not want to marry, it means that he will still support me and the child until his 3rd birthday, and then to pay alimony on him. And with the fact that he believed, Catherine will help me. Right, friend? How am I supposed to help you? Oh, Catherine, why are you slowing down? Your mom works at the hospital. Ask her to forge me a certificate of pregnancy. Angelina, are you crazy? You know my mom. She'd never agree to that. Let's ask her together. I think I can talk her into it. Wait, Angelina, Lana intervened. Who is he going to support if there's really no child? Well, I hope it doesn't come to that. When we get married, I'll fake a miscarriage, and everybody's happy. And if he doesn't want to get married, then I'll have to actually get pregnant. It's a long time, isn't it? Laughed the girl. Do you think he'll keep seeing you when you tell him everything? Or how will you make children with him after that? Catherine, well, do not bore. I'll think of something, and I expect that it will not come to that. Better tell me, when are we going to your mom? Never. I will not be a part of this. It's despicable. Come on. What do you care if it's mean or not? It's my life and I get to live it. It's not just your life. It's Alex's life too. And possibly your unfortunate future child. Oh, trust me, it will be the happiest baby on Lana. Angelina laughed, but at the same second became serious. Why do you care about him so much? Have you got your eye on Alex yourself? No, honey. He's mine, and don't you dare try to stop me. Catherine was unable to contain herself any longer. She was wildly offended for the guy she still loved so much. He is a free man, and has the right to know the truth, and to marry whom he wants, not whom he has to. Girls, Lana decided to intervene to lighten the mood. What are you guys doing? You found something to fight about. Wait, Lana. Angelina answered sharply. Let Catherine speak out. It turns out we have a little misunderstanding here. Speak, Catherine, I listen to you attentively. I have nothing more to say to you, but don't you dare deceive Alex. Otherwise, I'll tell him everything myself. If he wants to be with you, then he'll marry you without a child. And I'm not going to help you cheat on him. Ha ha ha, laughed Angelina. I wonder how you're going to tell him that. You don't have his number, and you can't meet him anywhere because your mom doesn't let you go out at night. That's when Angelina got serious. If you don't want to help me, don't. I'll do it myself. But just try to stop me. I won't leave you out of my sight, like telling your mommy where you were that night, and what you did there and how much you drank. I think she liked that very much. Angelina smiled evilly. Don't you dare, shouted Catherine. The girl wanted to add something else, but the words gave her a hard time, thoughts in her head confused, and in her eyes treacherously glistened tears. Catherine ran out of the office. That's right, Angelina shouted after her. Stay away from me and my future husband. Angelina, what are you? Said Lana, who finally gained the power of speech after all that happened. She is your friend. With such friends, you don't need enemies. Angelina answered rudely. And what kind of friend is she to me? She's a beggar from a broken home with a crazy mom. Even her father did not want to communicate with her, who needs her at all. That was very rude, Angelina. You go feel sorry for her. Just stay out of my way, please. Both of you. Okay, forget it. This is your fight. It's none of my business. I'm not going to quarrel with you or Catherine. That's right, smiled Angelina and began to solve the problem with the fake certificate. Catherine ran outside. She could not hold back her tears, and they flowed down her cheeks. She walked down the street, paying no attention to anyone. Rare passers-by tried to find out what she had happened and if she needed help. But the girl did not notice them at all, automatically answering that everything was all right. At some point, when Catherine calmed down a little, she realized that she had reached the bus stop. It's better to go home, Catherine said to herself under her breath. I can't think of anything but Angelina right now. And talk to no one, bitterly grinned the girl. Back home, Catherine did not immediately notice that she is not alone. Why are you so early? Do you have couples celebrated? From surprise, Catherine flinched. She did not expect to meet her mother because she had to be at work until 5 o'clock. Mom? Catherine replied in surprise. And why are you home? I have a headache and I took the day off. So, what's wrong with you? I also feel bad, answered Catherine, barely holding back tears. I'm going to lie down, Lepe? Of course you do. Let me make you an appointment at our hospital. That lately you often complain about your health. I don't like it. Don't, Mom. I think it's just the strain. You know, I'm studying for exams right now. Okay, go to bed. We'll come back to this question later. Catherine went to her room and closed the door. However, her mother immediately realized that something was wrong with her daughter, and it was not about health problems. The woman wanted to talk to Ekaterina, but it had to be done very carefully, so as not to destroy the already difficult relationship with her daughter. Ekaterina stayed in her room all day. She didn't even come out for dinner. Toward evening, her mother knocked cautiously in her daughter's room. Catherine, how are you feeling? You haven't had dinner. Am I worried about you? It's okay, Ma. I'm not hungry. The woman cautiously entered the room. Ekaterina was lying on the bed with her legs pressed to her chest. Her mom sat down on the bed next to her daughter and stroked her head. Catherine, carefully the woman began the conversation. I can see that something is happening to you, and it is not at all in your health. Tell me what's wrong. Maybe together we can find a solution to the problem. Did you have a fight with your girlfriends? At the mention of girlfriends, Catherine cried again. She did not know how to tell her mother about what happened. After all, then we'll have to tell, and that she did not listen to her that time when she went to the club. Of course, you cannot tell everything in the smallest detail, but the fact of the trip will have to disclose, but the girl was not ready for it. Catherine was silent, burying her face in the pillow. Meanwhile, her mother, not knowing how to get the truth from her daughter, decided to press her with the help of friends. Catherine, if you do not want to tell me, then I'll call Lana or Angelina. Let them tell me what happened between you. No, Catherine shrieked. She realized that Angelina could say a lot of unnecessary things to her mother. Don't, Angelina. Yes, Mom, we had a fight. And a very serious one. If you want to know what happened, I'll tell you. Angelina has turned out to be a sneaky, lying fool. She's trying to trick a guy into marrying her. And you can't do that, Mom, you know. You can't do that. She doesn't love him. And she asked me to help her fake a pregnancy certificate. Okay, so you two are fighting over a guy. And now you're jealous that he chose her over you. No, Mom. We did not divide him. Catherine, but I understand everything. I was young too. I fell in love too. No, Mom. He didn't choose between us. He didn't even have a choice. You don't let me do anything. You won't let me go anywhere. I can't have a relationship. Yeah, I met him at that club you wouldn't let me go to, but we never saw each other again. Wait, how could you meet him at the club if you weren't there? Or am I missing something? Catherine realized that said unnecessary in a burst of emotion, but there was no turning back. A little lowering her voice, Catherine decided to tell her mother the truth. Mom, forgive me, but I did not listen to you that time. When we stayed with Angelina and Lana at our place, we went to the club. That's where we met Alex. I liked him right away, a kind and funny guy, and Angelina started dating him almost immediately. And now she found out that his parents are very rich and she wants to marry him. She and I had a fight about it. She said if I got in her way, she'd make my life unbearable. Now you know everything, Mom. Yes, daughter, you've made me very sad. I don't know how to trust you now. Mom. Catherine looked at her mom and did not know what to say. She felt guilty in front of her mom. Okay, Catherine, let's go to dinner. Let's see what we can do about your problem. Mom understood that now Catherine desperately needed help and support. The woman was not going to leave her daughter to her fate, despite the fact that Catherine deceived her so much. It was necessary to understand what to do now, and in general, what result they want to achieve. Having cleaned herself up, Catherine went out of the room to the kitchen. Her mother was already waiting for her with dinner. Sit down. Eat first, or because of your worries completely starved to death. And so one skin and bones left. Catherine did not interfere with her mother. She quickly managed with dinner, and when her plate was empty, Mom put 2 months of tea on the table. Now let's think of a solution to your problem. But before we do, you have to promise me you won't do anything stupid again. And if I say something, you will listen to me. Catherine at first wanted to object, to say that she is not a little girl, but in time changed her mind. After all, now she really needed the support of a loved one. Okay, Ma, I know I was wrong then. I shouldn't have lied to you. Okay, sighs. What happened, happened. Now we're gonna deal with the consequences. Tell me something. Do you have any thoughts of your own? I want to tell Alex about the meanness. I just don't know where to get his number or how to contact him. That's not a good idea. First of all, Angelina's not gonna let this go. And her parents are very powerful in this town. And 2, there's no way your Alex is gonna believe you. He might think you're just trying to break them up with your friend. So what am I supposed to do? How does Lana feel about the situation? Does she even know about it? She does. Angelina told both of us her plan, but I don't think Lana wants to fight with Angelina, even if she doesn't approve. So here's the deal. You go to the institute tomorrow. You make up with Angelina. You apologize. But Mom, what am I apologizing for? Don't interrupt. Listen to me first. You need to buy time to prevent Angelina from getting the certificate from someone else. So you're gonna go to her, tell her you were wrong, and you arrange for me to give her the certificate. Then you'll schedule her to see me at the hospital in 3 days on Friday. Tell her I'll do it. What's the plan, Mom? You help her, and then what? I'm not gonna help her. I'm going to suggest to her that she get Alex to come to my office to explain the risks and complications of an abortion. I think Angelina would agree, because that would be an added proof and an advantage for her. And when they get there, I'll tell him gently. Let him decide for himself. If he loves Angelina, that's their business. Either way, you'll have nothing to do. Wait, Mom, but how can you do this kind of counseling? You're not a gynecologist, you're a surgeon. Don't worry about that. I'll arrange an appointment at our gynecologist's office. She's on vacation anyway. Mom, but what about me? Barely audible asked Catherine. What about you? You will live as before, only friends to choose more carefully. But I love him, almost crying girl said. So Catherine, I do not help you to help you further break your life. Understand rich guys do not choose a girl from poor families. I don't want you to suffer because he dumped you and found someone else. Then why are you helping me? Because your Angelina did not touch you anymore and let you finish the institute in peace. Catherine did not know how to react to this. On the one hand, she can save her beloved, and on the other, they are still not destined to be together. After a short reflection, Catherine still agreed with her mother, but her plans were a little different. She wanted to talk to Alex on her own anyway, and her mom didn't need to know about it at all. Okay, Mom, let's do as you say. That's a good girl. Now go to bed. You have a busy day tomorrow. Catherine hardly slept all night. She thought about how she could meet and talk to Alex, where to get his number, but nothing came to her mind. Finally, Catherine dozed off, and when she opened her eyes, it was already 7:30. There were only 15 minutes left for packing. The girl quickly dressed, grabbed a couple of cookies in the kitchen, and was about to leave when she heard her mother's voice. "Catherine, do you remember everything we talked about yesterday?" "Oh, Mom, you scared me." The girl shuddered. "Of course I remember everything. I'll make up with Angelina and send her to you." "Good for you. But let's not do anything amateurish, so that I don't have more problems to solve later." "Okay," muttered Catherine, leaving the apartment. When she came to the institute, Angelina and Lana were already there. They were sitting at a desk and discussing something. "Hello, girls," Catherine said a soft hello. "Oh, Miss Honesty is here," Angelina said wryly. "Hi, Catherine," Lana replied calmly. "Angelina, you forgive me. I was wrong yesterday. This is your life, and you decide what to do with it." "Wow," surprised Angelina. "That's quite a change. And what has affected you so much?" "Mom," simply answered Catherine. "She helped me to realize that this is not my business, and it is not for me to interfere with you. She even agreed to help you with the certificate. Come to her on Friday at 3 o'clock. She'll be waiting for you." "You're not so hopeless," Angelina laughed. "But for your mother, at least someone can show you the way." Catherine wanted to answer, but stopped in time. She thought that she could ruin everything with this, and the whole mother's plan will go down the drain. Catherine tried several times to take Angelina's phone under false pretenses to look up Alex's number, but no matter how hard she tried, she failed. After class, the girls went for a walk in the park. It was pleasant spring weather outside, a light breeze was blowing, and they didn't want to go home. After a while, Angelina got a call from her parents and had to go home. Catherine and Lana were left alone. "Catherine, tell me honestly, you are thinking something?" asked Lana sharply. "Well, there is no such change overnight. Are you afraid of Angelina's blackmail? Is that why you're helping her?" "Why would you think that?" surprised Catherine. "I told my mom about that night at the club. So Angelina has nothing to scare me. And my mom said that it is better to help her, so as not to spoil her life. I don't know what she's capable of." "I don't believe you. Admit it, you're up to something." "Catherine, I don't approve of it at all, so you can trust me. I'll even try to help you if I can." "Lana, but why go to all this trouble? She's never gonna forgive us for this. Her parents are patrons of our institute. If she wants us out, they'll kick us out. Don't forget that my parents don't work in a factory either, so you don't have to worry about that." "Okay, listen." Catherine told Lana everything she and her mom had come up with. "Good plan. Well done. As they say, the sheep are safe and the wolves are fed. Lana, I just want to talk to Alex too. I think we had a thing going on that night at the club. Maybe I have a chance." "I don't know, Catherine. I don't know if you're gonna hurt yourself." "Come on, what's the worst that can happen from a simple conversation? If I don't do it, then I'll spend the rest of my life berating myself for not at least trying." "Okay." Chuckles. "That's your right. I have an idea how to help you. You know how he said he always went to that club? He's probably still there now. Let's meet him there." "Lana, what am I gonna tell my mom? I mean, she told me not to see him. And I'm not allowed to go to clubs either. Why don't you go there by yourself, without me? What am I gonna do there alone? And what will I tell your Alex?" "No, Catherine. If you want to do it yourself, I'll just keep you company. And if you don't, you don't. Forget about it, that's all." "All right then, I'll see what I can do. But let's go after your mom talks to him. He might think you're just trying to get back at Angelina and won't listen to you." "Yeah, you're right. Let's do that." They talked some more about the whole situation and went home. The next 2 days passed without incident. The friends talked peacefully among themselves, and each of them waited for the fateful Friday. On the appointed day, Angelina went to the hospital to her mother. She easily found the right office and knocked on the door. "Maria, may I come in?" "Yes, Angelina, come in. I'm waiting for you." Angelina entered the office and sat down on the chair opposite the woman. "Tell me, how can I help you? Didn't Catherine tell you? She gave you the essence of the problem, and from you I expect details. What is the time frame? How many children? What month should I set the tentative delivery date?" "Oh, I didn't even think of that. Well, give me twins. I'd have to be about a month along. I can't say anything about the delivery date." "I don't care. just as long as it's right. Okay, Angelina, I hear you. Probably a very good guy you got, if you are so fighting for him, asked Mom, filling out the certificate. Oh yes, a very good match. He's rich and good looking. You can't find such a man by day. Angelina laughed. By the way, how much will I owe you for this certificate? I don't owe you anything, smiled the woman. It's not difficult for me to help my friend. Meanwhile, Maria finished writing the certificate and handed it to Angelina. When the girl stood up and headed for the exit, the woman called her as if by accident. Wait, Angelina. Do you want us to leave your boyfriend no chance to retreat? Angelina returned to her seat and her eyes lit up. You bet. How do you do that? Bring your young man to me and I'll explain to him that abortion is absolutely contraindicated for you. What do you say? That's a great idea. When can we come over? Let's do it tomorrow at the same time. Can't we do it today? Oh, you're fast. Let's do it tonight. I'll be here till 7 o'clock. Okay, then I'm off to get Alex. We'll be right back. We have a date in half an hour. Angelina ran out of the office and ran to Alex's office, excited. She was there in 15 minutes and the guy was still gone. Angelina was starting to get angry when suddenly someone called out to her. Hey, gorgeous. I thought you had already forgotten and would not come. Angelina put on her lips resentfully. Well, baby, I'm sorry. There was traffic on the road. Okay, so be it please, but for this you have to kiss me. The guy had no problem honoring her request. And I have a surprise for you, continued Angelina. Let's go quickly. Where to? You'll find out soon. And Angelina took Alex by the hand and led him to the hospital. Why did we come here? The boy asked in surprise. Now you'll find out for yourself. Come on, we need to go to the second floor. Coming to the gynecologist's office, Alex looked at Angelina in bewilderment. Angelina, what's going on? Explain it to me. But Angelina did not answer. She had already opened the office door and pulled the guy with her. Good evening, young people. Maria, Angelina began, putting aside all ceremony. You wanted to speak to the father of my children. Here we are. Angelina, Alex exclaimed in surprise. What children? That's impossible. We were using protection. It happens, young man. No contraceptive does not give a 100% guarantee. Why don't you have a seat? Angelina had an appointment with me today. Her test results show she's pregnant. It's not due yet, only 6 weeks. But you can already tell you're having twins. That doesn't make any sense. Alex, stop it, Angelina said angrily. Listen to what the doctor says. The development is going well, the woman continued. But I would like to talk to you, as the father of the child, about the risks for the mother. Angelina, would you give us a moment alone? It will be easier for the young man to listen to me. Yes, of course, Maria. I'd understand. Angelina winked at the woman and went out into the corridor. When the door closed behind the girl, her mother waited a few minutes for Angelina to step away. So what did you want to talk about? Interrupted the silence Alex, who still did not understand what was going on. Alex, I think you're not stupid and you should understand. This whole circus was organized by your friend to make you marry her, but she couldn't think of a better way. I don't know how you feel about her, but I think you should know the truth. There's really no pregnancy. Angelina made it up. And why are you telling me this? Alex said incomprehensibly. Because Angelina threatened my daughter if I didn't help her deceive you. So I had no choice but to promise her support. But it's not in my nature to deceive people. So I'm asking you to play along with me now so I don't frame my daughter, and then you'll figure something out later. Well, thank you for the information. Can I go now? Hold on. Why don't we wrap up the visit with Angelina so she doesn't figure it out? Okay. Should I go get her? Yes. Just know that I'm supposed to tell you right now that Angelina's abortion is medically contraindicated. I hear you. Don't continue. Thank you. Alex got up from his chair, walked to the door and looked out. Angelina, honey, come in, Alex said, trying to be as gentle as possible. The girl entered the office. Mom once again briefly told about possible problems, and realizing that Angelina did not suspect anything, let her visitors go. At home, Maria was waiting for Catherine, who was eager to know the details. However, her mother did not go into details, and simply said that the plan worked, and she can no longer worry about anything. Thanking her mom for her help, Catherine began to think about how she could carry out her part of the plan. Not wanting to wait another minute, Catherine pulled out her cell phone and began to type a message to Lana. My mom said she did it. Angelina thinks Alex bought her ruse. Let's decide how to proceed. A few minutes later, a reply came back. Great. Now it's up to you. We'll discuss the details tomorrow when we meet. I'm a little busy right now. A little annoyed, Catherine put the phone aside. She did not like that her friend could not give her attention now. But deciding that today anyway, she could not do anything, the girl calmed down and went about her household chores. The next day, Catherine and Lana met in a cafe. And what are you planning to do now? Lana asked. We with you have already thought of everything. Let's go to the club. When Mom will be on duty, there I will talk to Alex. And what exactly do you want to tell him? Catherine thought about it. She knew what she wanted to get from the conversation, but she didn't know what she would say. I don't know. Maybe that it was my mom who helped him to get rid of the dishonest girl manipulator. Are you crazy? Lana asked in bewilderment. Do you want him to think that you set this whole thing up on purpose to get him and Angelina to fight? Or to think that your mother, at your request, told on Angelina? I don't think we should mention that story at all. And what should I say then? Catherine asked stably. After all, it turns out that we have very few common topics. Maybe it is not necessary to pretend that you came not by chance. You already know each other, just come up and chat casually. If you're meant to be together, he'll pay attention to you. And if you're not, you don't have to try. You're probably right. My mom's working the night shift tomorrow. Then we can go to the club tomorrow. No, Catherine, no need to hurry. Maybe he hasn't broken up with Angelina yet, and then it'll all be for nothing. Let's wait until Monday and see what Angelina has to say. She'll probably share how it went. I didn't even think of that. Lana, you're a good girl. Look, what if he really loves her and decides he still wants to be with her? What then? Lana asked me out of the blue. I don't believe that. That kind of meanness is unforgivable, even to the ones you love. You shouldn't think so. Everything happens in life. All right, don't worry about it. We'll hear from Angelina on Monday. They sat in the cafe for a while, discussed the events, and went home. The weekend passed without incident. On Monday, the girls met at the institute. Angelina looked as usual, and Catherine could not understand whether anything had happened between them and Alex. Lana, seeing that Catherine was nervous, decided to help her friend and ask Angelina herself. Angelina, why don't you tell us how everything went? You were at Mom's on Friday. Did he believe you? Are you going to get married now? Angelina was a little taken aback by such a flood of questions, but having collected her thoughts, she began to tell. Shit, girls. It's complicated. My plan is on the rocks, and what to do I do not know. Mom told him very convincingly that if I get rid of the baby, I may not survive. And now he wants me to see their family doctor exclusively, and we're supposed to go to his clinic today. He even made an appointment for me. What am I going to say? I'm sorry, my mistake. There was no baby. It was a joke. Happy April Fool's Day, darling. Is that it? He's not gonna forgive me for this. Girls, what am I gonna do? Angelina, maybe it'll be okay. Tell him you can't go out tonight. Tell him your parents have something important to do. I tried. He says they're his kids too, and I can't risk their lives. Wait, why do you say children? You have a lot of them or something. Jiggled Catherine. Because I asked your mom to point out that I have twins, for more effect. Yes, Angelina, I don't envy you. After class, Angelina got a call from Alex. Lana and Catherine heard only a fragment of the conversation, but it was clear to them that they had a big fight. Angelina refused to go with Alex to the clinic, referring to the business and the fact that she has the right to dispose of her body herself. And after the response of the guy, the girl generally sent him to hell and said that she did not want to have anything to do with him, and he did not see these children. Friends were extremely surprised by such behavior, Angelina, but did not interfere. They decided that it was only to their advantage, because Alex is almost free, and it is possible to proceed to the realization of their plan. Going to the club was planned for Wednesday, when Mom would go on duty. On the appointed day, the girls met at the entrance. When they went inside, it turned out that all the tables were occupied, and they had to take a seat at the bar. Taking a cocktail each, the girls looked around. Do you see him? Catherine asked her friend. Not yet, but I do not remember what he looks like, and there are a lot of people here today. I also do not see yet. Okay, let's wait. The girls sat in the club for 2 hours. During this time, they had time to dance, to go out into the air several times, to scrutinize all the guests. But the one they needed didn't show up. After another half hour, Lana informed Catherine that she couldn't be here anymore. She needed to go home. She offered to come to her friend another time. But Catherine, afraid that again she would have to deceive her mother, did not agree. She tried to persuade Lana to stay, but the girl was adamant. In the end, they parted. Lana went home, and Catherine stayed waiting. Close to midnight, her waiting was rewarded. She noticed Alex entering the club in the company of other guys. Gathering her courage, Catherine approached the guy. "Hi," she started the conversation. "Hi," replied the guy with a smile. "And I think I've met you somewhere before." "Oh yes, you came here with Angelina." After saying that, the guy's face changed dramatically. "You want to talk to me about your friend? It's not worth it. I know she cheated on me with the baby. I know she doesn't love me. She loves my money, or rather, my parents' money." "Wait, I don't care about you and Angelina. I was here with a friend, but she'd already left, leaving me alone." "Then I saw a familiar face and decided to say hello," said Catherine. In her heart, the girl was very glad that Alex did not want to know Angelina anymore and was not going to reconcile with her. "Well, in that case, you can join me and the guys. You don't mind, do you?" Alex asked, looking at his friends. They agreed, and they all went to the table together. Everything was going as well as possible. Catherine was having fun with Alex and his friends. All the guys turned out to be cheerful and very sociable. When the girl got ready to go home, the clock showed 3 o'clock in the morning. There was no limit to her happiness when Alex volunteered to give her a ride home. When his car pulled up in front of the driveway, he suggested, "Would you like to meet sometime during the daylight hours? But you just broke up with Angelina, didn't you?" Catherine replied, trying to look like a decent girl, despite the fact that everything inside of her was rumbling. "Don't you think it's wrong?" "Well, that's for me to decide. I'm not the one who cheated and left her. She's the one who made up the baby and then told me to go to hell. And there was nothing serious between us. She was only interested in money, and you're not like that. At least I don't think so." "Thank you," shyly smiled Catherine. "Call me." She quickly wrote his number on a piece of paper and jumped out of the car, afraid to give away her jubilation. At home, the girl quickly bathed and went to bed. A few minutes later, she received a message from an unfamiliar number. "Thanks for the evening. Beautiful. Good night." Not believing in the reality of what was happening, Catherine pinched herself. Feeling a burning pain in that place, she reread the message once more. Then another and another. Soon the girl plunged into dreams and unnoticeably fell asleep. Waking up in the morning, Catherine looked at the clock and realized with horror that she was late for the first couple. And the worst thing is that in 20 minutes her mother should come, who is unlikely to appreciate her lateness. Quickly putting herself in order, Ekaterina ran out of the house. She got to the institute only to the second pair. The girl, out of breath, ran into the classroom, where Angelina and Lana something heatedly discussed. Seeing Catherine, the girls looked at her with surprise. "It's the first time I've seen you skip a class," Angelina said without greeting. "Where were you, Tony?" "Angelina, come on," Lana tried to change the subject. "You and I have more important things to do." "You?" "Catherine, by the way, sit down too. Killian gave me the assignment to develop a business project. It will be necessary to report on the next pair." Catherine nodded her head gratefully to Lana and joined the work. But 5 minutes later, she was distracted by the sound of an incoming message. "Good morning, beautiful girl. I hope you didn't oversleep today because of our late-night adventure." After reading the text, Catherine involuntarily smiled, and her cheeks were covered with a slight blush. Noticing this, Lana immediately guessed who sent Catherine the message. Angelina, on the contrary, became very curious. "Come on, Tony, who wrote to you that you're all flushed?" "No reason. A guy. I met him yesterday." "I wonder where," laughed Angelina. "In the library?" "You don't go anywhere." "In a cafe," simply answered Catherine. "He sat at my table when I was waiting there for my mother." "And what is the name of this daredevil?" "His name," Catherine was a little confused, but noticing the portrait of the famous economist Smith above the door, answered, "His name is Adam." "How? How? Is that a joke?" Angelina burst out laughing so hard that tears came to her eyes. "It's no joke. He's not from around here. His grandfather was an Englishman, and he got his name just in honor of him, Catherine quickly realized. Catherine told a little more about her fictitious boyfriend, and soon the friends lost interest in this topic, again engaged in drafting. Time passed. Catherine and Alex began to meet periodically. It seemed that here, the girl's dream finally came true, and now she is the happiest on the land. But in life does not happen all so smoothly. Sometimes there are difficulties which are not expected at all. Since then, Catherine began to see Alex often. They walked in the park, went to the movies. The guy repeatedly invited her to a nice expensive restaurant, but Catherine did not agree. She did not want to seem to him greedy and mercantile. The guy always laughed at this, but did not insist. Alex had not yet met such a girl. He saw that she was not interested in his money, felt that she loved him, but the same couldn't be said for him. He was interested in Catherine. It was unusual and even new sensations. But he did not love her. Nevertheless, the girl was happy next to him. Deep down, she understood and felt that the guy did not have the same strong feelings for her that she had. But she headed away all doubts, hoping that someday everything would change, and she would be able to take a special place in his heart. The mother noticed a change in her daughter's behavior. The girl became softer, more sociable, and often smiled. The mother tried to find out what had happened in her daughter's life. Not wanting to lie, Catherine told her mom the truth, but not the whole truth. The girl came up with another guy. She said that she met at the institute with a graduate student who was interning in their group, and they sometimes meet with him. Her mom didn't approve of such a teacher-student relationship, but decided that now it would help her daughter get her mind off Alex and not do something stupid. After all, it was the lesser of evils, Mom thought. But the relationship with her friends at the institute became complicated. Angelina had changed completely. She began to overreact to everything that happened. At any failure, she began to plague Katerina and then complained to Catherine and Lana about her problems. Catherine was annoyed by this change in Angelina. Lana, on the contrary, wanted to help her friend, thinking that the breakup with Alex had affected her. 2 weeks later, Angelina completely disappeared from the institute. Lana was worried about her friend, shared her worries with Catherine, but she didn't care. She was only glad to take a break from whining. Catherine, what if something happened to her? I think Angelina's having a nervous breakdown over a failed plan. Oh, come on. She's not gonna be that stressed out about a failed project. This one didn't work out. She'll do another one. What if she did love him? Lana, please don't. You know I'm dating Alex now. And by the way, we're doing great. Catherine, of course I'm happy for you. But I'm truly sorry for Angelina too. I'll probably go to her house tonight. Maybe she needs some help. Would you like to join me? I'm sorry, Lana, but no. I can't tonight. Alex took me someplace special. Suit yourself. That evening, Catherine went on a date with Alex. It turned out that he took her to his favorite restaurant. Catherine started to resist, but the guy convinced her, and they sat down at a table. Everything was like in a fairy tale. Catherine felt like a princess in the palace, rich furnishings, sumptuous dishes, gallant waiters. The evening was passing unusually, but one moment changed everything. Angelina ran up to their table. Catherine could not immediately recognize her friend. She looked terrible. Hair disheveled, mascara smeared under the eyes, clothes wrinkled and put on neatly. She also smelled like alcohol. Angelina took a chair from a neighboring table and sat down with Catherine and Alex. I knew I'd find you here. You don't answer my calls. You don't read my messages. What? Are you afraid of responsibility? Angelina, what do you want? I think we've made up our minds. Go home and sleep it off. We have nothing to talk to you about. And you, Angelina was talking to Catherine. That's what kind of friend you are. You took advantage of my weakness and stole my boyfriend. Angelina, stop it. I didn't steal anyone from you. If you remember, you're the one who dumped Alex. And you just gave up on your kid like that. You told me how worried you were about him, how you wanted me to see your personal doctor. Stop it. I know everything. I know there's no baby, and there never was. That's what your doctor told me back then. Oh, that's what it is. Catherine put her mom in charge of setting me up. What are you doing to improve your wealth? At the expense of a naive rich kid. What are you talking about? Alex intervened. You're obviously out of your mind. Go get some sleep, I'm telling you. Leave us alone. And you are so easy to fool, grinned Angelina. Do you even know who her mother is? No. What do I care? I only know that Catherine is a good and honest girl, unlike you. Of course she is. You and I went to see her mom at the hospital. Why are your eyes down? You're ashamed, right? Real Zigo turns out to be in a cannon. Catherine, is it true? Calmly asked Alex, looking at Catherine. Not really. My mom really worked in the hospital, but as a surgeon, not a gynecologist, and she helped Angelina forge the certificate to lure you in and tell you that it was all a fraud. That's where all her honesty ended. Okay, Angelina, maybe Catherine didn't tell me she was helping you, but I think she was trying to warn me. But what do you want from me? I want nothing to do with you. You're wrong about that. You think I was just looking for you. You and I do have something in common. I wanted to tell you that I've agreed to go to your clinic for a checkup. Because we're having a baby anyway. Whether you want it or not, you're not going anywhere from me now. And you, Catherine, you can go to all 4 sides, and you cannot show up at the institute. I warned you not to interfere with me. Angelina, stop this circus. You expect me to believe you after what you've done. You cannot believe. Only in 6 months your child will be born, and then you will have nowhere to go. On the face of Angelina appeared unpleasant smirk. Catherine couldn't listen to this anymore. Jumping up from her chair, she rushed away from the restaurant. Alex, on the other hand, stayed where he was. He kept looking at Angelina, trying to figure out if she was telling the truth or if she was making it up again to get him to be with her. Angelina was also silent. She realized that she had managed to hook Alex and eliminate her rival. After a few minutes, the guy got up from his seat, and after throwing some bills on the table, he took Angelina under his arm to lead her out of the restaurant. He put the girl in the car and silently got behind the wheel and drove off. Where are you taking me? To the clinic. I won't let you deceive me anymore. The boy answered briefly. They were there in 20 minutes. Angelina obediently followed Alex to the right room, because now she had nothing to hide. She was 100% sure of her diagnosis. Meanwhile, Catherine returned home. Fortunately, her mother was not at home. The girl took a shower, trying to wash away all the shame and injustice. She wanted to tell someone everything, to share her feelings. The most suitable for this role was Lana, who just sent Catherine a message. I was at Angelina's. She hasn't been home for 3 days. Her parents are worried. What are we going to do? Thinking briefly, Catherine typed back, we're not going to do anything. She broke up our date with Alex today. Says she's really pregnant. Ekaterina told Lana all the details of today's incident, mentioning also that the girl threatened her again with problems at the institute. Lana listened to her friend carefully. She was very surprised by what was happening, although her condition in the last month was now quite explainable by her real pregnancy. Lana promised Catherine to think about how to help her in this situation, but she warned her that she should forget about Alex if she wanted to finish the institute in peace. Alex decided that if Angelina was lying, then, once in the clinic, she would lose her confidence, get nervous and sly again. But the girl was completely calm. She entered the doctor's office with Alex. It turned out to be a man in his 50s, which did not embarrass Angelina in the least. Hello, John. I called you the other day about my girlfriend's pregnancy. I was wondering if you could do some research, and also to establish paternity. The man looked at Angelina with mixed emotions. Her unkempt appearance and the still present odor of alcohol caused unpleasant feelings in the man. However, he was not used to arguing with customers. They were usually important people with a lot of money. Yes, Alex, I remember. Come on in. I'm going to write you a referral for an ultrasound. Go to room 202. They'll do it now. And then tomorrow morning, you'll come in for a blood test on an empty stomach. And I would not recommend you to drink alcohol in your position. A little embarrassed, said the doctor. The man wrote out a referral and sent Angelina to the ultrasound room. I'll go with her, Alex answered confidently. I want to be sure that Angelina is pregnant. By all means, you will catch up with her. But now let me leave you a few words. Alex looked at Angelina with disbelief, thought something over in his head, and then he said, Okay, go to the office, but wait for me outside. I'll catch up with you. Angelina nodded indifferently and went out. Alex couldn't get rid of the obsessive feeling of déjà vu. Only now, instead of a strange woman doctor, was their family gynecologist, in who the guy was sure, because his grandmother's mother and sister had been going to him for 20 years. Alex, listen to me carefully now. I want to warn you. Even though our clinic has state-of-the-art equipment, Taking material from a baby is a very risky procedure for the fetus. There's a slight possibility of problems with your wife's pregnancy. She's not my spouse. I doubt it's my baby at all. Angelina and I haven't seen each other in about 2 months, and when we did, it's important to me, but I don't want to risk the baby's life, so I'm willing to wait until it's born. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna go to the ultrasound room. I'm glad you heard me. Alex left the doctor's office and followed Angelina. She obediently waited for him in front of the door. Are you ready? Yes, Angelina answered briefly. The sonographer confirmed that Angelina was pregnant. By all indications, the due date was 11 or 12 weeks. The baby was developing well, and there were no surprises. Having finished with the paperwork, Alex and Angelina left the clinic. Getting into the car, the guy started talking. Here's the deal. Now I will not risk the life of this child, but when he was born, I will conduct an examination. And if it's not my baby, it'll answer for it. Is that clear? It couldn't be clearer. I just don't have any other options. Well, we'll see about that. When's the wedding date? Angelina asked after a while. What wedding? I'm not gonna marry you. If it's my baby, I'll support it, but I'm certainly not going to marry you. Why not? Because I don't want a wife like you, sneaky and cunning. Well, you've got it all worked out for you, don't you? I won't let you use me. Oh, then I'm not good enough for you. And who do you want? That ragamuffin Catherine? Shut up. This has nothing to do with you. How dare you yell at me? You've ruined my whole life. Why should I have a child at 22? I haven't seen anything yet. I haven't had time for anything. And you refuse to marry me. Who's gonna want me with some stranger's baby in my arms? I hate you. I don't want that freak. I don't want him. I don't want it. Angelina screamed, tears streaming down her cheeks. Alex stopped the car, turned around and told her in a calm and firm voice, although a storm of emotions was raging inside him. It's like this. You calm down now, clean yourself up, and don't say any more of this nonsense. If you don't want this baby, I'll take him and you'll never hear from us again. Just please bring him out normally, no surprises. Angelina was a little sobered by Alex's speech. She stopped crying and turned silently to the window. Take me home, she said quietly. When they drove up to the house, the girl silently got out and headed for the front door. She was met at home by her worried parents. They tried to find out what had happened to their daughter, but she said that she was very tired and asked to wait with questions until tomorrow. Angelina briefly assured her parents that she was fine, that she had been at her friend's house all these days, and that she'd been worried sick about the fight with Alex. But now everything was fine, and she wouldn't do it again. After that, the girl went up to her room and fell into sleep. In the morning, Angelina woke up with a heavy head. Unpleasant memories of last night surfaced in her mind. The girl sat on the bed and lowered her head, resting it in her palms. I'm such a fool, Angelina muttered quietly. Why did I do all this in the first place? Why do I need this child? And most importantly, how to tell my parents about it? They will throw me out of the house and cut me out of the will. And not to say, so themselves guess, soon the belly will start to stick out. After these words, the girl involuntarily looked at her stomach. No changes. What if the doctors were wrong? She continued her monologue. Suddenly I can go on living my usual quiet life. And if they are right, what now? Alex made it clear that I will not be his wife. And fuck him, Angelina said much louder. At that moment, her mother entered the room. Daughter, are you all right? I heard some noise from your room. I'm fine, Mom, answered the girl, trying to smile. I'm just tired. Exams are coming up. And then there are these relationship problems. I don't want any of it. I don't want anything at all. Angelina, I don't recognize you. You were always such a fighter. And now you've given up at the first hurdle, and you're just starting out in life. After the institute, you'll start working, where no one will feel sorry for you either. It'll probably be even harder. So what now? Do nothing? Sit on the neck of my dad and me, and then my husband? And don't worry about relationships either. There's plenty of good guys out there besides Alex. They're not thinking about the right things at that age. Forget him and move on. And then you'll see. You'll have a husband, you'll have kids. At the mere mention of children, the girl's heart raced and her palms sweated. I don't want children. Mom, it's too early for me to have kids. Angelina, that's what I'm telling you. that you'll graduate, find a job, get married, and then, when you're ready, have children. Mom, what if I do it the other way around? Children first, then everything else? The woman responded to that question with a completely different tone. No, Angelina, don't give me that. That's not how Dad and I raised you. So don't even think about it. Bring in a him, and even without a husband, I'll arrange a paradise life for you. With these words, Mom got up and left the room. In general, she was very kind and gentle, but when it came to children, she was always of the opinion that they should be born only in marriage and only by mutual consent. Angelina, however, remained seated in her room. Her mother's words finally convinced her that her parents would not accept her child and something had to be done. But what? She was pulled out of her thoughts by the sound of an incoming message. It was Alex. I'll meet you out front in 15 minutes. We need to talk. The girl realized that she didn't have much of a choice, so she quickly cleaned herself up and jumped out of the house unnoticed by her parents. She jumped into the guy's car and asked him to drive farther away. When they were a decent distance from Angelina's house, Alex parked the car and started talking. Okay, Angelina, I'm not going to beat around the bush. I've been thinking about this situation all night and I've come up with the following. You and I will make a contract, according to which you will have to bear a child and give it to me, giving up all rights. What's in it for me? I'll pay you a good sum of money after the birth and support you during the pregnancy. What will I tell my parents? They kill me for it. If you want, I'll rent you a place in a neighboring town. You can tell your parents that you've been invited to a good job with a big salary. You can stay there later if you want. There's a branch of my dad's firm there. I'll make a deal. They'll set you up. I'll pay for your apartment for the duration of your pregnancy. Then you can do it on your own with a salary. What about the institute? I have exams coming up. In 2 months, to be exact. When you graduate, you'll go. You won't change much in the meantime. I consulted John about it. He said you're built so you won't have a big belly. You'll just choose less tight clothes, and no one will realize it. Did you ever think I might have other signs like toxicity? So we'll think of something else. You leave town now and come back in time for the exam. You'll say it's an internship. Suppose so. So what do I get in return? I'll pay you $50,000 a month in salary. Besides, like I said, I'll pay for your housing, groceries, and all the necessary procedures. And after the baby is born, I'll pay you another $2 million. Agreed? 3.5. You're really something. All right, but you'll sign all the necessary papers. And no more drinking and other nonsense. And if I'm not the father of the child, the contract will be canceled and you'll pay all the costs. Deal. Angelina grinned, not doubting Alex's paternity. Now let's go to the clinic to take the tests. After taking all the tests, Alex took Angelina to the institute. Lana and Catherine were already there. When Angelina entered the classroom, both girls looked at her, trying to guess what mood she was in. The day before, Lana had suggested that Catherine not do anything until Angelina did something about it. They had agreed to discuss the situation with her first and explained that Catherine had nothing to do with it. Catching the glances of her friends, Angelina proudly raised her head and approached them. Hello everyone, Angelina said with a smile. Catherine and Lana were a little surprised at this mood of the girl. They did not know what to expect and what game she was up to. But still both girls also good-naturedly said hello. And you know, Catherine, I am even grateful to you that everything turned out this way. Thanks to you, I'll have a big job and my own place and no problems. And you can have Alex for yourself. If he wants to hang out with you after what you've done, and if you want to raise someone else's child instead of a free life. Angelina, what are you talking about? Lana asked. He refused to marry you. No way. I gave up on the idea myself. Angelina lied. Why would I want someone who, at the first difficulty, would run and seek comfort in someone else's bed? But he begged me to give birth and give him the child. He even agreed to all my terms. And you just give up on him? Catherine was surprised. You are his mother. Think about it. Why do I need it? I want to live. Normal, full-fledged life. I don't want to raise a little brat. If his daddy wants to take care of him, let him buy that right. What are you? Catherine could not find the words to describe what she now felt about Angelina. Well, what? Mean and cruel. But you are honest and soft, laughed Angelina. I don't advise you to quarrel with me now. So be it. I forgive you. Finish your studies in peace. But don't meddle in my life anymore. Understand? Yes, briefly answered Catherine. I'd also believe that everyone can dispose of their own lives, supported Lana, trying to diffuse the atmosphere. It's good that everyone agrees with it. The girls did not return to this question. Angelina decided to prepare her parents for her move. She kept telling them that she was invited to an internship in a reputable firm, but for this she would have to move to another city. At first, parents took this information skeptically, but when Angelina announced the terms of work, they agreed that this is a very good start to a career, even if you have to move. Time passed, and to Angelina's delight, she did not feel any unpleasant symptoms of pregnancy, except for a constant feeling of hunger. The girl showed herself to the doctor once every 2 weeks and followed all the recommendations. Her belly slowly increased, but Angelina skillfully hid it under large loose t-shirts and dresses. Alex and Catherine stopped communicating at this time. He did not know how he felt about her and how he could treat her now. And Catherine was afraid to write to him first. She was afraid to be rejected, so she did not dare to dot all the dots over and above in their relationship. So 2 months flew by. The girls successfully passed their exams and received their diplomas. Alex, as promised, took Angelina to another city, having arranged it there in his father's firm as an analyst. To his surprise, after a week of free life in a foreign city, Angelina asked to work for real, and she was quite good at it. The team accepted the girl quickly and always tried to help. Angelina herself was also surprised by such a change in her character. Apparently, it was hormones. Lana stayed in her hometown and got a job in the firm of her parents. She offered Catherine to go to work with her, but she refused. Memories of their, albeit not long, but still so bright, affair with Alex constantly depressed her. So the girl decided to go to the big city, which was a few thousand kilometers away, and start life with a clean slate. Mom, of course, was against it. She did not want to let her daughter go so far away, afraid to lose control over her, afraid that her little girl would ruin her life by getting involved with a bad man. But this time Mom's entreaties and even prohibitions Catherine left aside. She firmly decided, packed her things, and explaining to her mother that she could make her own decisions, went to the train station. Catherine got off the train and breathed in the warm summer air. It was completely different, not like at home. The girl felt the spirit of freedom, which gave her strength. It was necessary to develop a plan of action. First, Catherine needed to find a place to live. On the road, she looked through several ads for rooms for rent and stopped at one of them. The room was rented by an elderly woman in a 2-room apartment, not far from the city center for only $7,000 a month, but in addition, she asked for a little help around the house. Ekaterina was very excited about this opportunity. She had with her a small cash reserve, which she had managed to accumulate over several years. In the summer, she worked as a consultant in a cell phone store and also saved some of the pocket money that her mother gave her. Now the girl's account was about $50,000. Ekaterina arrived at the right address. The door was opened by a nice-looking woman in her 70s. "Hello, I called you yesterday about the room." "You, Catherine?" The woman clarified. "Yes, it's me," smiled Catherine. "Come in, I'll show you your room." Catherine entered the room. There was a sofa, a table, and a small TV. The girl was surprised by the good repair, which had obviously been done recently. "Well, does it suit you?" Yes, it does," Catherine replied happily. The landlady left her to unpack and went to the kitchen to cook something. An hour later, the smell of apple pie with cinnamon reached her nose. There was a quiet knock at the door. "Catherine, let's go to tea. I baked a Charlotte." In a few minutes, they were already sitting at the table telling each other about their lives. The landlady's name was Alice. Catherine immediately penetrated to her some warm feeling. It turned out that the woman had a very hard fate, and there was no one left of relatives. Her son and her grandson were killed in a car accident 15 years ago. The man failed to control himself and drove into the oncoming lane. He died on the spot, and the child was taken to hospital with serious injuries. Doctors fought for his life for more than 10 hours, but everything was in vain. Alice's sister-in-law, having learned about what happened, could not survive such grief. Sometime later, she took a lethal dose of sleeping pills, and 5 years ago, Alice's husband passed away. At the end of the story, Catherine could no longer hold back tears. She was truly sorry for the woman. "Well, I coped. As you can see, live on. Tell me more about yourself. How you found yourself in our city. I understood that you are not from here. Have you come from far away?" After drinking some tea, Catherine told Alice everything about her life, about how her father abandoned her very young, how her mother kept her in urchin mittens all the time, how she fell in love with a guy, and her best friend started dating him, wanted to tie him to himself with a child, and then it turned out that she actually got pregnant by him. And now Catherine has run away from her past life in search of happiness. This conversation brought them very close together. Catherine felt that she had found a kindred spirit on whom she could rely in a difficult moment. After telling her story, the girl felt much easier. The past as if let her go and was no longer a heavy burden. A week later, Catherine found a job in a good company. Only now there were no vacancies for analysts and economists, so she got a job as a secretary. There were a lot of duties, and the pay was not as she would have liked. But Ekaterina realized that without work experience, she was unlikely to find something more worthwhile. And so there is an opportunity to study the activities of the company, to join the team, and when a vacancy appears, to get a promotion. And so it happened. Ekaterina worked hard in her place, often stayed overtime, without asking for a raise in salary. The manager appreciated such zeal of the girl and in 6 months offered her a position of junior analyst. However, even here the girl did not relax and worked hard, exceeding the plan. Gradually, Ekaterina rose to the position of deputy director for economics. She began to receive a solid salary and could even afford to take an apartment in the mortgage, but she did not want to leave Alice. During this time, she became so accustomed to her that she perceived the woman as her own grandmother. Alice also loved Catherine with all her heart and was very afraid that she would decide to move away from her. But in the personal life of Catherine was not all so smooth. One colleague at first gave her signs of attention, but Catherine was so enthusiastic about her career that she did not pay any attention to it. And now that the girl held a high post, colleagues did not dare to approach her, and nowhere else she did not go. Although Catherine herself, and it did not upset. Now she had everything she dreamed of. A good position with a high salary, a cozy room in the center of a large city, and a beloved grandmother who was always ready to listen and come to the rescue. Even the relationship with her mother became much warmer. They often called each other. Catherine told her mother about her successes, and the latter, in turn, was very proud of her daughter and happy that she chose the right path. Angelina continued to work in the company where Alex had arranged for her. She liked this work, liked the team. The director was pleased with the appearance of such an employee, because with her appearance the firm's business improved markedly. They managed to attract new clients and find all the extra expenses. But the head was very upset by the fact that Angelina would soon go on maternity leave, because he could not assume that she would go to work after childbirth. So passed another 4 months. Angelina's pregnancy proceeded without complications, and very soon she was to give birth. Recently, the girl often thought about the future child, about whether she was doing the right thing. But every time she came to the conclusion that she was not ready to be a mother, she would not be able to give this child the necessary care and love. For the same reason, she still didn't know whether she was carrying a boy or a girl. Angelina didn't want to get attached to this baby. When it was time to go on maternity leave, Angelina asked to stay at work at least for another month, but the doctors and Alex insisted that it would be better for the baby if the girl would be away from computers and have more rest. She eventually gave in and went on vacation. Angelina was admitted to the hospital for observation a week before the scheduled delivery date. Everything went right on schedule. And on the due date, Angelina gave birth. The labor went pretty quickly and easily. "It's a boy," the midwife smiled. "I don't care," Angelina replied quietly, tears running down her cheeks. The midwife did not insist on talking to Angelina. In her practice, she had seen many cases of women who were depressed after childbirth and did not want to see their children. Angelina asked to take the baby straight to the pediatric ward. When she was transferred to the ward, the nurse tried again to offer the girl to pick up and feed the baby. "Look," Angelina said, trying to keep her cool, "I don't want to see this baby. I'm not going to feed him. Just make him feel good, and I'll pay you for it." "But he needs his mom," the nurse tried to object. "Artificial formula won't give him the substances he needs." "That's enough," Angelina raised her voice, barely restraining herself from shouting. "I've said it all. I'm not ready to be a mother. And please don't tell me about him again." 3 days later, Angelina and the baby were discharged from the hospital. Alex came to meet them. He handed Angelina a huge bouquet of flowers, and he himself received his son from the nurses. Now, when he saw this baby for the first time, he had no doubt that it was his son. Carefully putting him into the car seat he had bought beforehand, Alex helped Angelina to sit down. She was silent for a long time, gathering her thoughts. And when they drove up to the house, she finally spoke. "Alex, listen to me please and don't interrupt me. I've been thinking about our agreement for a long time. I don't want money for the baby. All I'm asking is that you keep me in this job. It's not the boy's fault he was born to a mother like that, but I can't help it. I'm not ready for this and I can't give this child what it needs. I beg you, take care of him. Find him a decent mom." Angelina stopped talking and turned away from the window. Tears ran down her cheeks again. Alex was very surprised by such changes in the girl's character. He could not imagine that this calculating and cunning girl, who had never seen anyone but herself before, now asked him to take care of the child. "Angelina," Alex called softly. "Maybe you want to visit him sometimes? You'll get used to him. I beg you don't. Let's just leave it at that, that's all. And forget this story." Alex didn't insist. He promised Angelina to leave her at work and not to bother her anymore. And he went home with the baby, where the nanny, who he had invited in advance, was waiting for him. 2 weeks later, Angelina went to work. Her colleagues were surprised, but they did not get into her soul. Someone decided that the child died in childbirth and all began to adhere to this version. The girl herself quickly got into the work process. At first she often thought, and whether she did the right thing, maybe it was necessary to agree to Alex's proposal and sometimes come to her son. But each time Angelina convinced herself that it would be better for everyone. Over time, these thoughts began to cross her mind less and less often. And 6 months later, a young man joined the company. At the first communication with Angelina, they had the feeling that they had known each other for many years. Over time, their communication grew into something more. Angelina even told him her story, but the man still did not reject her, but tried to understand. Soon they got married, and Angelina next to him feels absolutely happy. Since Catherine's move to a new city, more than 2 years have passed. She proved herself well at work. The boss was very pleased with the appearance of such a specialist. The firm's business was booming, and it was decided to open a new branch. Establishing relations with some business partners from other cities, the head chose his hometown. Here he was offered the most favorable terms of cooperation and saw good prospects for development. The director had no doubts about the choice of an employee to set things up in the new branch. He called Catherine to him and described the whole situation. The girl had contradictory feelings. On the one hand, she missed her mother and native places, and on the other hand, she was afraid of those memories from which she had once fled. Catherine first tried to convince the head that she is not a suitable candidate because her work experience in the company is only a couple of years. But the director was firm in his intentions. He offered the girl very decent pay for the job, and she could not refuse. Saying goodbye to the landlady, Catherine promised to return and call her every day. But Alice felt that not everything will not be so simple, that Catherine is waiting for a difficult test at home. And she was not mistaken. Back in her hometown, Catherine immediately began to do business. And what was her surprise when she found out that their business partner is none other than Alex's father, and the guy himself is actively engaged in business relations of the firm. It should be noted that both of them were extremely surprised by this meeting, but for some reason they are very happy about it. After solving some business issues, Alex invited Catherine for lunch, and she gladly agreed. At lunch, the guy told her about his life, that now he is raising his son Max. But unfortunately, not everything goes as smoothly as we would like. Since birth, the boy was taken care of by a nanny. It was a very good girl and a professional in her work. But recently she had to leave them and go to her native village to take care of her sick mother. Alex wanted to hire a new nanny, but Max doesn't come in contact with anyone else. In just a couple of months, Alex had to change 5 nannies, and one of them, as it turned out, even raised her hand on the baby. Alex's parents refused to help him, explaining that it was his choice and now it is his difficulties. However, they recognized the grandson and sometimes visited him. Catherine listened to Alex's story with horror. She felt very sorry for the little boy, who was not guilty of anything, just he was unlucky with his mother. Having talked a little more, they went back to work. That's how the business day ran. Things were going well, the firm was ready to open. And Catherine realized that her work here will soon end. At some point, the girl suddenly realized that she was still attracted to Alex, but she chased away these feelings. But one day Alex came to work with Max. He explained it by the fact that the next nanny refused him and there was no time to find a new one. Catherine had never communicated with small children before, so she felt some embarrassment when the boy found himself in the same room with her. Little Max, on the contrary, showed interest in her. It was the first time in a long time that the boy had made contact with a stranger. She even managed to cheer him up. And by the end of the working day, Max followed Catherine with a little tail. Alex realized that he couldn't just let this girl go, because not for nothing his son trusted her. The business trip was coming to an end. In a week she had to go back. She was very sad at heart. She had become very attached to little Max during this time, and it was very hard for her to part with Alex again. Now she realized that those long-forgotten feelings for this man had not gone away. She still loved him. The same could be said about Alex. The guy really wanted Catherine to stay with him, but he did not know how to ask her to do it, and what he would do in case of refusal. Finally, when there were only 2 days left before leaving, he invited her to take a walk in the park with his son. The girl was glad of such a proposal and immediately agreed. All the way Alex thought how he could persuade Catherine to stay in the city. They walked and talked first about business in the new firm, then smoothly moved to a conversation about personal relationships. Catherine told him that in the city where she moved, her grandmother was waiting for her, who had become close and dear to her over the years. That's why she was glad to return there. Alex, listening to the girl's story, became more and more convinced that she had much more there, that she would hardly want to stay with him. But little Max had his own plans. All the while the boy was running around Alex with Catherine, he was always talking about something, showing his daddy something and talking in his childish language. Suddenly a big dog ran up to him and started barking. Max was very frightened and rushed to Catherine. "Mommy, Mommy," cried the boy. Catherine pressed the baby to himself and gently stroked his head. "Do not be afraid, little one. She will not touch you. Now Daddy will chase away this evil dog." Max pressed harder and harder against Catherine, but now he was no longer crying. The girl said some gentle words to him and calmed him down as best she could. After a while the boy calmed down and came down to the ground. But now he walked next to Catherine and held her hand tightly. Seeing this, Alex decided to start such a difficult for him conversation. "Catherine, I have a proposal to you," he hesitantly began. "Would you like to stay with us in this city? Max for a long time has not gone to anyone so much as to you, and I also really want you to stay with me." The girl was confused at this unexpected frankness. Of course, she felt that she and Alex had a special connection, but she didn't think that he would dare to make her an offer. "But I have a job and Alex will be all alone." Catherine realized that now it was not the most important thing, but she could not gather her thoughts. "I'm sorry, Catherine. Perhaps it was too straightforward, but I would not forgive myself if I did not try to talk to you about it. If you don't agree, I understand. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that." No, it's okay. It's just all so sudden. Give me time to think about it." That's when they went home. Catherine thought about their conversation the whole way, remembered everything that had happened between her and Alex. Only now she realized that her mother was right about everything and she should not have meddled in her own business, so that now it was not so painful and bitter. She realized that her mother had always wished her nothing but the best. Now Catherine knew for sure that she wanted to talk to her mom about Alex's proposal. Entering the house, Catherine felt such a familiar and native smell of Mom's pancakes. The woman remembered that her daughter was leaving soon and wanted to please her with something special. "Mommy, how delicious it smells. I've been dreaming of your pancakes." "I'm glad I made your dreams come true," smiled Mom. "Wash your hands and sit down to the table." At dinner, Catherine told her mom about what was bothering her so much right now. She told everything that had happened between her and Alex then and why she had run away from this town. Told about the real child, which she had given up and now Alex was raising a son by himself. Told how today little Max had called her mommy, running away from the dog. "Mom, and after that Alex made me an offer to stay with them here. I don't know what to do. What's your advice?" "Daughter, I've spent years telling you how to live your life, what to do and what not to do. But it's your life and only you can decide what you want. I will tell you only one thing. If you are not sure now that you want to leave everything as it is and go away, then you should stay and try to accept Alex's proposal. Otherwise, you will regret it all your life." Catherine thought about her mom's words all night and finally made a decision. In the morning, she called her boss at work and asked for the opportunity to stay to work in the new branch. As it turned out, He himself was very hopeful that the girl would want to stay in her hometown and take the post of head of the firm. After that, Catherine met with Alex and agreed to his proposal, but with one condition: they must go to Alice and take her to her. The guy was completely fine with it. The trip was planned for the next week. Catherine settled all the paperwork at work. Alice, after a short persuasion, agreed to leave with them because there was nothing to keep her here. Alex and Catherine decided not to organize a lavish way. Only the closest people were invited to the celebration. Only one person was not from among the relatives was Lana. Catherine had not seen her friend for a long time, but she was always grateful for her help and support in her student years. Therefore, she could not help but call her to such a significant event in her life. As it turned out, Lana sometimes communicates with Angelina. She told Catherine that the girl has completely changed, became wise and responsible. Told that Angelina got married about a year ago, but she and her husband had difficulties conceiving a child. They both went to doctors who said there was no problem, and what to do to help them they didn't know. And now Angelina and her husband decided to take a baby from an orphanage and are now being trained in a special school. After the wedding, Catherine adopted little Max, and they began to live as a normal family. Alice moved to live in Alex's house and engaged with the baby while his parents worked. Mom also supported her daughter and often visited them, and neither of them regretted the decision.